morning, everyone. Welcome to Tampa City Council. At this time, I yield to, well, we're going to have a moment of silence for invocation, but I want to acknowledge the passing of somebody very special to the city of Tampa, Margarita Gonzalez, many of whom we know. I've known her my whole life. People here have known her for even longer. She was with the Mayor's Hispanic Heritage, Mayor's Hispanic Advisory Council, just the resume, the list goes on and on. But if there was an example of an angel, this is who this person was. So my condolences, our condolences go out to her family. She was very special to this community. No? All right, so if we could just stand, yeah?
Yeah, I just want to echo that too. She was one of the nicest people that I knew. And when I came back to Tampa back in '94, she was one of the first people that welcomed me. And she's been like family to so many people and has been such a great, kind leader in our community. And it's sad we need more leaders like that, not fewer.
Yep. So if we could please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Carlson.
Here.
Hurtak. Here. Clendenin.
Here.
Henderson.
Present.
Vieira. Here. Miranda.
Here.
And Maniscalco.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
All right, can I get a motion to adopt the minutes from August 22nd, 2024 workshop and then the evening session held on August 29, 2024? We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we're going to go through the agenda. I received a memo from Councilmember Hurtak to pull items, and this is very specific, 28, 33, 34, and 55 in one group. We'll hear those under staff reports. And then the second group to be pulled is 40 and 42 together right after on staff reports. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
All right, can I get a motion to that effect?
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have, let me go through the agenda here. We have a request for, do we do the continuance when we open the public hearing at 1:30 for item 64?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll wait on 64. I'm going to go through staff reports and unfinished business. Chief of Staff, do you have an administration update?
Morning, Council. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. Good morning to the public. Originally, we did not, but after last night's storm, I think it would be beneficial for Mr. Bhide to come in, Vik Bhide, our Director of Mobility and Stormwater, just to explain what's going on with the torrential rainstorms and our capacity as it relates to overall rainfall during the season. Probably a 3 to 5 minute, he may be even virtual for that, if
Okay.
Council's pleasure.
No, absolutely. It was miserable. It was a nightmare. All right, item number 66, would we like staff present for that? It's a $4.5 million item.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Is that a yes?
No, I don't think we do.
No? Okay, no on 66. 67 goes along with 68. Any? No? All right. Item number 69, also almost 4 million. Do we need somebody? We have a memo from Mr. Baird. Do we need him present? No? No on 69. How about 70?
Oh, that's standard, you can't.
No? All right. Item number 71.
Yes, please.
Yes on 71. Item 72.
Yes.
All right, let's have a yes. 73. Okay, so yes on 73. 74, we have a memo. Councilmember Henderson? Yes, okay. Item 75.
If I could just
Yeah.
go back to item number 74, just a reminder that I believe last week Councilwoman Henderson made a motion for generally
A workshop now.
For the workshop.
for
in
the
September.
workshop.
Right.
Okay.
So
So and you want somebody here for this item, Mrs. Mulkey, or somebody from staff for this item?
Yes, I still want someone because the public is listening.
Thank you.
So we will have someone here for 74, 75?
It's verbal, yes.
Yes, all right. Item 76?
Also verbal.
Yes, 77?
Some pipes.
We have a PowerPoint. for it.
Yeah, I think this could actually tie in with the administrative update, Mr. Bide's, because this is a pipe issue, but
Okay.
it's not quite the same, but yeah, let's have someone,
Yeah,
let's,
we have a
let's have him
PowerPoint,
here
so.
for the PowerPoint.
All right, how about 78? There's a written report? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes? All right, 79. Yes. All right, item number 80 is a written report, so there's a request for continuance to October 17, 2024. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion for item number 80 to continue to October 17, 2024 by Councilmember Carlson, second Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. All right, is there anything else before I ask for an approval of the agenda? So moved. We have a motion to approve the agenda, and then the changes were made. We have a second from Councilmember Miranda. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I suggest and would recommend to council to move those big-ticket items 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, and 74, along with the staff reports, so that
moved.
gets those off the agenda. Well, and to move that at that point, after that? Okay,
Yeah,
or
we'll-
before that?
So moved.
We'll do it now. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Please, just for clarity, so 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, motion to move those?
Yeah, you have to do it after public comment. I just
Oh,
ask
okay.
that, instead of taking it up on the
All
staff
right.
reports, take it with the
That's
consent
fine.
docket.
We have a motion to accept the agenda as it, with the changes. We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to go into the agenda. Item number 1 is Councilmember Vieira with the Police Officer of the Month.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a great pleasure here to present on behalf of Tampa City Council our Tampa Police Officer of the Month. Like I always say, we always do this for our police officers as well as our firefighters to reflect on how important public safety is here to our city of Tampa, and for our police officers to show that our city of Tampa supports law enforcement and the hard work that they do. Here to talk about this individual's amazing work will be Chief Kate. Coming up, man.
Good morning, Council. Deputy Chief Ruth Kate, on behalf of Chief Burkall, who sends his regrets. But I would like to introduce to you Detective Juan Ramos from our homicide squad. He's been a detective for some time, but we're only going to highlight one case which you may recognize, and that's the reason why he is our Officer of the Month for September 2024. The Tampa Police Department is proud to announce Detective Juan Ramos as the Officer of the Month. The exceptional dedication, investigative skills, and collaborative efforts demonstrated by Detective Ramos were instrumental in solving a high-profile homicide case. On June 23, 2024, a fatal shooting occurred at a local hotel, resulting in the death of a musical artist, Charles Jones, more commonly known as Julio Fulio. Detective Ramos committed himself fully to this complex case, his first homicide investigation as the lead detective, working more than 140 hours in the first 2 weeks alone and placing an obvious strain on his family, who fully supports him. He went in relentless pursuit of justice for Mr. Jones. Through meticulous investigation and collaboration with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, Detective Ramos successfully identified 5 suspects linked to the homicide. These individuals were found to have traveled from Jacksonville with the intent of targeting Mr. Jones. Detective Ramos' tireless efforts, strategic partnership with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office played a crucial role in quickly bringing 4 of these individuals into custody. 1 more is still outstanding, but we will get him. Beyond the results of the immediate homicide investigation, Detective Ramos' tenacity has had a far-reaching impact. His diligent efforts have led to the discovery of new evidence related to other unsolved homicide cases in Jacksonville. This evidence has provided fresh new leads and has advanced those investigations too. Detective Ramos' commitment to justice and his exceptional investigative skills are exemplary. His dedication and perseverance have made a significant contribution to the Tampa Police Department and our community. Beyond making Tampa safer, his effective partnership with the other agencies has also helped another community solve and bring justice to other victims. It's for these reasons that he is our Officer of the Month.
Congratulations.
And so, Detective, before we hear from you and before we hear from City Council, there's members of the community here who would like to express their sincere appreciation for your work, sir.
Well, first one, congratulations on behalf of the Tampa PBA. Want to present this to you.
Come to the microphone so they can hear. Yeah.
Like I said, John Miller, Tampa PBA, on behalf of the members of the Tampa Police Department, want to congratulate him on a job well done and present this as a token of all of our appreciation.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Detective Ramos, thank you so much for keeping us safe. On behalf of Casper's company, Casper's family, and Oxford Exchange, we'd like for you and your loved ones to enjoy Oxford Exchange brunch, lunch, bookstore, whatever you want. Thank you for keeping us safe, Detective Ramos. Thank you.
Yes.
Ramos, Bill Roland from the Strauss Center for the Performing Arts. Thank you so much for keeping our streets safe, and that determination really is very impressive and inflecting. So these are 2 tickets to come and enjoy a night at the Strauss Center. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Morning, Council. Mike MacArthur, Steps Towing Service. Congratulations on a job well done. On behalf of Todd Stepp and Steps Towing Service, I'd like to present you with a gift card for Night Out, dinner on us.
Thank you.
Congratulations, job well done. Appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do for our community. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mary Lou Bailey, and I'm here on behalf of Zoo Tampa. I serve on the board there, and we're presenting you with a family membership for the year for the zoo. And we're highlighting the manatee, my special animal. We are in a critical care facility for the manatees who get hurt and sick in the wild. And like you take care of us, we try to take care of the animals. But I really appreciated your story, especially I wanted to comment on the 2 qualities that you apparently have in abundance of tenacity and collaboration. Those 2 things together will take you far, my man. Thank you again for your service. Thank you for everybody who serves.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Brian Ford with the Buccaneers. Detective, the story is unbelievable. What you your extended efforts for the Jones family, remarkable. And thank you. And we have a tradition at $1. And anybody that goes over and above gets a game ball. And on behalf of the Glazer family and our entire organization, I'd like to present this to you.
Awesome.
Say thank you and your family for your service and sacrifice.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Good morning, Council. Jill Witecki from Tampa Theater. When they make the movie of your story, I hope we get to show it. In the meantime, here's an annual membership for you and your family to come see us over the next year.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Council. Good morning, Detective. I'm Grace Gonzalez. I'm here on behalf of the Gonzalez family and the 1905 family of restaurants. We'd like to thank you so much for being here and being committed to our city and our community. Thank you for being committed to justice. Please enjoy a night out at the Columbia, Goody Goody, Casa Santo Stefano, Ukulele. Enjoy some sangria. Just have a night out and relax.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
I need a bigger tote bag.
Yeah, not to carry.
Maybe a rolling suitcase. Steve Michelini, I'm here on behalf of a couple of different folks, and I'm pleased to announce we have a new company that's joining in this presentation. So Me Greek Restaurant is providing you with a gift certificate for $50. You can join yourself over there for lunch.
Thank you.
Jackson's Bistro on Harbor Island, $50, $100. So get $100. Chicho's Restaurant Group, they have a number of restaurants around town, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. On behalf of Yummy House China Bistro, and I always say the chief likes to grab that one from you. So, Meat Market and Old Hyde Park, they're providing you with a $100 gift certificate. Take these letters with you as well as the gift certificates, please.
Yes, sir.
And Bella Brava in the Midtown section. Go enjoy yourself, and congratulations. Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And so, Detective, on behalf of a very grateful city of Tampa and Tampa City Council, it is our great pleasure and honor to give you this Tampa City Council commendation. Gracias por tu servicio y Dios te bendiga. And if you want to go ahead, sir.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to be here. Thank you, Tampa City Council, for your time and having me here. This case was absolutely massive, and there was a lot of moving parts. I know that I'm being recognized because I was the lead detective in it, but I could not have done it without the support of the team behind me. I'd like to thank first my wife. She held down the house and supported me during the very long hours that I was gone on this investigation. I'd like to thank my squad mates, the homicide squad, specifically Aaron, Dave, and Rudy, who helped me directly on this case, and my supervisors, Sergeant Cholnick and Sergeant Kelly, and obviously the command staff. We all came together and worked with Jacksonville Sheriff's Office to deliver justice on this case, and I couldn't have done it without them. And of course, the State Attorney's Office, the State Attorney Susie Lopez, and the great prosecuting team behind this case. It definitely was a team effort, so I'd like to thank all of them for this moment that got me here. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Oh, yeah.
Councilmember Moran.
Detective, I can tell you that you're the smartest detective I've ever met. You know why?
Why?
Would you say thank you first?
Oh, of course, yes.
Your wife. So above all, you have more brains than I do. But thank you for your calmness and your quality of life, that you recognize everyone that had a hand in this thing, and you can't do everything by yourself. You know that, the world knows that. But you have something that few of us have. That's the tenacity to never give up and to smell where they're going next. It's a God-given thing that when you're in the police force, no matter where you're at, you got to think like they do in order to catch them. So you have that natural ability. God bless you and your family.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, thank you for your leadership, tenacity, smarts. Thank you to your team, your wife, as you said, and your family. But seeing what you've done from the start on this case, hopefully we won't have more murders, but if we do, I hope that you're there helping to protect our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And congratulations, sir, very well deserved. I know this was a very high profile case all over the media, and it's already been said multiple times. Thank you to your family for the sacrifice, because it's not easy. You're working endless long hours, overtime, above and beyond. You and your team, what you do, people don't see, but you're always out there and you're always working. So thank you for that work, and thank you for that sacrifice that you make every day, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Just take a moment here before we go to the next item. Yeah, after they clear out. All right, Councilmember Vieira, we're going to recognize Pepin Academies in honor of their 25th anniversary.
Pepin folks, come on up.
And I see Scott Strapina here, a friend of mine for a long time. Good to see you, sir.
Sorry about that.
It's a real great, oh,
Go ahead, sir.
yes, sir. Thank you very much, Council. It's a real great pleasure to be here today. We are here to honor our friends at Pepin Academies for 25 years of service. We have a lot of good people here with us. We have Mr. Tom Pepin, who is the founder of the Pepin Family Foundation. We have Tina Pepin, who is executive director of the Pepin Family Foundation. We have Krisha Scalaro, the founder of Pepin Academies. We have Mr. Scott Strapina, the board chair of Pepin Academies Hillsborough. We have Jeff Skournick, the executive director of Pepin Academies. Monica Perez, the COO of Pepin Academies. Jennifer Messerschmidt, the principal at Pepin Academies. Christina Diaz, the executive assistant of Pepin Academies. And we have Phyllis Guthman, our good friend from McDonald Training Center, one of my favorite people I know, that is another organization that does so much for people with intellectual disabilities. So we're here today to honor Pepin Academies. And, you know, for me, as all y'all know, my brother Juan yesterday, Juan, in fact, was at the hospital with some minor surgery. God bless him. My oldest brother Juan is intellectually disabled. And I know very well from personal experience with my mom and my dad how important institutions like Pepin are to families raising children with special needs. When you got a kid who has an intellectual disability, whether it's autism, Down syndrome, whatever it may be, all you want is to make sure that that kid has a pillow, so to speak, to put his or her head down at night, so to speak. And that includes good education, housing, a culture that accepts them for who they are, etc. And filling in that gap for so many families for a quarter century has been Pepin Academies. Whenever I think of Pepin Academies, I think of the stories of hope that they've given to so many families with kids with intellectual disabilities. I think of people like my former staffer, Connor Darkin, who now works with the clerk of court. I think of the wonderful programs they're doing this year. The city of Tampa's funding a welding program that Pepin Academy is doing for young people. Pepin Academies makes dreams happen for people whose only dream is to make sure that their kids get acceptance, love, and respect, something that every person should have. So it is our great pleasure on behalf of a grateful city of Tampa to honor the legacy of Pepin Academies, the vision of the Pepin family. The Pepin name means so much to people in the Tampa area who have loved ones with intellectual disabilities. It means everything. It's one of those names, like McDonald Training Center, like Best Buddies, like Special Olympics. It's part of that family that is there for people. So on behalf of a grateful community, it is our great pleasure and honor to give Pepin Academies this Tampa City Council commendation for 25 years of service. I will ask Mr. Tom Pepin to come forward. Come on up, man. Yes, sir. Here, we'll give this to you. Here you go, sir. Please. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
I'm going to have my daughter.
Thank you so much for those kind words. There's not much that I can say after that. Good morning. My name is Tina Pepin. I'm the proud director of the Pepin Family Foundation. Today, we celebrate 25 years, and 25 years ago, our family invested in students in the education system who had unique abilities and just needed a little bit more help. And that idea was brought to us by this courageous woman behind me, Carisha Scalero, and a group of families that recognized the need for special education, for students in the general education environment that just weren't succeeding as much as they could be. And that's why it's so important. Today is the recognition of that hard work, the choice that you all recognize that is needed in the community. So, and we know, just like the detective said this morning, it's a team effort. And improving the quality of life of students in this community, in the system, is a team effort. And we thank you for recognizing the difference that is needed in our community. So thank you for the honor today. Thank you.
Anybody else? Please. Yes, sir.
City Council, thank you, Mr. Vieira, and all of you for this recognition. 25 years is exciting for me to celebrate, not because of Pepin Academies, what it does for students with learning disabilities, but for what it means to get here for 25 years. And looking back at all the people that have been part of its success, starting with Chris, and I only hope, as she knows, that she looks today and says, wow, 25 years ago I had 17 students in a box, and today we serve almost 1,200 students across 3 campuses. A box has turned into 3 55,000 square feet plus facilities that serve students and give them the chance to be successful, to be heard, to be believed in, as you've mentioned. You have taken your love for your brother and expanded it through this city and embraced us. The city has embraced us. We've done transition work and interns at the police department. We've been at the public defender's office doing workforce experience for almost 15 years of these 25. You have embraced us and we have embraced you, and we are grateful for that. I do thank everyone behind me that you were so generous to mention. Sorry again, but our board chair, Scott Shapina, our COO, Monica Perez, my executive assistant, Christina Diaz. These two make all the decisions that you see happen every day. Trust me. Our Tampa principal, Jen Messerschmidt, and of course the Pepin family, and Krisha and Phyllis, thank you for being here, for allowing me the honor to do this. And I know we've done 25 years of greatness, but me and you share a love for something, a great boxer who told us time is undefeated. But I didn't hear no bell. So let's do 25 more.
What was your name, sir?
Jeff Strano.
Thank you very much, sir.
Anybody else like to come forward? Please,
I just
have
wanted
at
to
it.
say thank you to
And your
Phyllis-
name, ma'am?
Krisha Williams, Scalera Williams. I want to say thank you to Phyllis Guthman, because not many people realize that Phyllis was coaching me and helping me years before Pepin opened, encouraging a mother who saw a great need that was needed and helped make it happen. But it all goes to Tom and Art Pepin, who, when we used to have our little meetings where parents would come and ask about what we were doing, and both of them said, I kind of think that this might be good for our city. And that's what happened. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else at all? Anybody? Tom, Phyllis, anybody? Okay, just making sure. So before we go to council, again, Pepin they do amazing work. And Jeff, as you know, it ain't about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And to quote Rocky VI, and that's what the families that benefit from Pepin's work do. So thank you very much, council.
Thank you. Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Again, thanks to all of you. It's been said before, but what the Pepin family has done, not only here, but in this case, in your academy, but also in medicine in the past, your father and so forth. And what you continue to do is an honor to have you citizens of the city of Tampa. And we mean that sincerely. But along all those thoughts, it's that you don't quit today. You take another step in the future to help somebody else for tomorrow. And that's what life is all about. It's not about what you and I have, it's about what everybody else needs. So we want to thank you sincerely from the bottom of our hearts for what you do on a daily basis. And my apology to RSA, who has invited me many times, but we're booked most of the times that they call me, but I'll make sure that the next one I attend. So thank you, congratulations to all of you. God bless each and every one of you.
Yes, good morning. Congratulations on reaching this wonderful milestone. I love Pepin. One of my favorite students, Adrian Vila, is now working on her master's in Texas. One of my favorite students, but along with her brother and sister who also attended. Your graduation ceremonies are just a delight, and I just wish you more success. And congratulations on your 3 campuses as well.
Councilmember Carlson.
We're smiling because we're not supposed to give comments now, but since everybody is, we will, because it's so compelling to want to say something positive. Yes, and so if they don't say anything, it's not because they don't want to. But thank you all for the 25 years, and hopefully it will be another 25. I want to in particular thank the Pepin family. My first job was in sports promotion, and I worked with your family. I don't remember if I met you, Mr. Pepin, but I worked with your family back in the 80s, and you all have done so much in so many ways, and you're one of the most philanthropic families in our community. And thank you. So many businesses do a fraction of what you all do, and this is just one of the many areas of impact that you all have had. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sir.
And one last thing, if I may, I did want to mention, because we talked about graduates, I would be remiss if we didn't mention a graduate from Pepin who was taken from us almost a year ago in October, Harrison Boonstapple,
yes.
One of many. So thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Next, we have the Florida Orchestra to do a 5-minute presentation to report on the services it provides to city residents. Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
Good morning, City Council. This is Ignacio Barrio, President and CEO with the Florida Orchestra. It is a pleasure being here today. Thank you so much for the opportunity to provide some updates on the Florida Orchestra. I have a few slides to display here. Just today, wanted to give an update on how it was last season, and also as we prepare for the upcoming season. It's the first time here, so it's good to see you all, good to meet you all, and kind of wanted to start with recapping on our mission or why we exist. And really, the Florida Orchestra is here to transform lives, and through the power of music, we really have a lot of experiences and stories from families that have been touched and moved by what we do. We build community through the power of music, and we inspire, educate, and unite through what we do. We have more than 56 years of history, and as you know, we are the largest professional orchestra in the state of Florida. Our music director is international acclaimed artist Michael Francis. We are actually celebrating his 10th anniversary this year, and the orchestra has been transformed since he arrived. We also have a rising star resident conductor. Her name is Chelsea Gallo, and you might have seen her in one of our Parks concerts in Tampa, along with 70 full-time musicians, which many of them have 20, 30 years of experience. They're only not coming from the United States, but worldwide. And these musicians really moved to Tampa, and they settle here with their families. And I think it's really important to mention that. We also have a team of 30 staff members. Our annual operating budget is about $14 million. And wanted to mention that in the city of Tampa, we perform in a number of venues. You probably know we perform at Ferguson and Morsani, but we also have concerts at Tampa Theater, New Tampa Performing Arts Center, Julian B. Lane, and River Tower Parks. And we are excited to announce a new location this upcoming season at Ybor City at the historic Centro Asturiano as well. We serve around 150,000 people every year in the concert hall, classroom, and community. And TFO is proud to present world-class artists such as Yo-Yo Ma, Sting, Josh Groban, and so on. We are known to provide music for everybody, from classics, pops, rock, country. And wanted to mention that last year, this is a picture of a concert at the Morsani Hall, Messiah concert, which was very successful. We partnered with the Master Chorale of Tampa Bay, along with many other partners in the community. I want to emphasize and highlight how strong of a partnership we have with the Strass Center, including Opera Tampa. We started a relationship with Opera Tampa 3 years ago, and we are looking forward to continue to provide music performances with Opera Tampa in the future. Last year, we performed about 24 concerts in Tampa. 18 of them were at the Strass, 2 were at the Parks, and 4 in other Tampa indoor venues. That's around 30,000 patrons that were really attending to our concerts in Tampa. And this upcoming season, we are planning to present 25 concerts in Tampa, total of 20 concerts at the Strass, 2 annual Parks concerts, and 3 in other venues. Our opening concert in Tampa will be October 12th, and it's our Pops concert series, Betty Babs and Beyond, and I'm proud and grateful to share that Mayor Castro has accepted to attend the performance and share initial remarks. We're always very grateful that she's present to represent and to share the power of the orchestra in the community. On a yearly basis, we serve around 60,000 people through our community programs. I mentioned the 2 Parks concert, which really tackle with around 9,500 guests annually. But I want to mention that this season we are looking forward to present a combined pre-performance from Blake High School and University of Tampa musicians before the Parks concert. Another special service we provide is through our string programs for youth. And in particular, I'm proud to share that in Tampa, we have partnered with the Spears Academy for teen girls and Tampa Residential Facility for teen boys. Both these locations are juvenile detention centers, and it's really a new partnership that we are very excited to really help through what we do with music. Those are just other examples of what we do, side-by-side concerts with the Tampa Youth Orchestra, or well-known lobby performances where we have high schools from all over, including Blake and Bloomingdale's high schools, Tampa Metropolitan Youth Orchestra, and so on, and our known instrument pairing shows. This year, we're going to partner with Gasparilla Music Festival for the first time, so that's another exciting partnership coming up. Wanted to share that we're known to be an arts and culture destination and really known for the economic impact that we create in the community and the dollars that we can generate through our concerts. I know the time is up, so I wanted to take the opportunity to, again, remind you on the 10 years of Michael Francis, and also on behalf of the Florida Orchestra, thank the City of Tampa for the continued support for many, many years. Because of the City of Tampa, we can continue to provide incredible performances for our community. So thank you so much for the opportunity. If there are any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. So we appreciate the presentation and all that the orchestra does. So it's a wonderful community asset. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, we're going to kick it off with public comment. I have one registered speaker, which is Mr. Michael Randolph. We'll start with him, and then we have 5 in-person speakers. Good morning, Mr. Randolph. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Michael Randolph. I'm here today to talk about the Zion Cemetery. On December the 10th, 2019, a presentation was made before the City Council concerning the cemetery. On March the 5th, 2020, another presentation was made. Just to give a little history. The cemetery was established in 1901, holds the distinction of being the first African-American cemetery in the city of Tampa. However, by the mid-20s, it had been built over and essentially erased from the map. What's unique about this is that it was an African-American, Richard Dobie, who actually purchased the land. The property that once was composed of the remains of the cemetery is owned by 3 businesses: the Tampa Housing Authority, the Sun State Record Services, and the owner of the Columbia Restaurant. One of the committee members is a family member, Jardine Williams. She's a family member of that particular member on that cemetery. What's unique about this deal is that it's a public-private relationship, one of the first kind in the nation. The program that's coming up is called the Memorial Cemetery and Genealogy Center. Funding is coming from 3 sources, including government, foundations, and corporations. Just to give a breakdown of the sources, $7.9 million. The cemetery memorial design is going to be $230,000. The state historic markers is going to be $7,500. The state local marker is going to be $5,000. The fencing and security is going to be $30,000. Demolition is going to be $500,000. The park development is going to be $5 million. Technology center is going to be $1.9 million. What's unique about this is going to allow us to bring in funding in order to sustain the finances related to this particular project. Unfortunately, at this point, the 2 other business owners are not at the table, and we risk losing all of the money related to the $7.9 million that we have lined up. On the 20th of this month, we'll be giving an online meeting called The Forgotten 400, a national crisis, at 7 p.m. This is going to be a conversation related to Black cemeteries throughout the United States. We think that what we're doing with the Tampa project is going to be one of a kind in the nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, that concludes the online public comment. I have a few more comment cards, so we will go to in-person public comment. First up is Mrs. Stephanie Pointer. Followed by Ms. Connie Burton. Good morning, ma'am. Please say your name.
Good morning, Stephanie Pointer. Well, I hate going first because I want to hear what the other citizens have to say, because sometimes I like to pile on. I'd love to see the mayor come over here and support item number 79 today. Item number 79 is supporting this council getting a cost of living adjustment, which they've needed for years. I want to see our city council look like all the people who show up in this room. I want it to be represented throughout the city. I want somebody to be able to pay their mortgage payment. And we're not talking about a lot of money here. We're talking about enough to get you above the poverty line if you don't have another job. Okay? I want to see everybody support this. It is justified. And the funny part about it is, this is the 3rd year in a row that I've come up here about this. And you know what? When somebody says something, the raise, we're calling it a raise, the adjustment is the same adjustment that I brought before this council, that was brought before this council 3 years ago. So you're actually getting less than you would have had you done it 3 years ago. And I think that it's time for everybody to understand that this cost of living adjustment, or whatever you want to call it, is not about the people who sit in those seats. It's about the seats that you sit in. I want to see my neighborhood leaders be able to run for council. I want to see my neighborhood leaders, when I see Ellie Baggett and she's like, I'd run for council, but I can't pay my mortgage if I do. If I see Mimi and Bobby and all those folks who might be interested in running for council one day, Lynn Hurtak was one of those people. She was a neighborhood leader. She wanted to run for council, and she couldn't do it if she didn't have 2 incomes in her house. So, I mean, I think we have to take that into consideration. I want everyone to be able to be on this council, not just people who have enough money or have a job that they can flex time. And this is not a part-time job. I don't give a damn what anybody says. They're lying. Because I just follow y'all around and pick up your breadcrumbs, and I do a full-time job of it. And y'all do way more than I do. So I know how hard you work. We need to do this today. We need to do it far in the future for everybody. Not in the future, because I heard that crap before the last elections. We'd do it after the elections. No, it's time to do it. Suck it up, Buttercup. Make the decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Ms. Connie Burton, followed by Ms. Robin Lockett. Good morning, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning, Connie Burton. It's always something said here that triggers me. And so when I hear, the wonderful 25-year celebration, it triggered 25 years of trauma for me. In 1999, the Tampa Police Department, along with the Housing Authority, the police department sought a $50,000 grant to do a reverse drugs thing in Rovers Park. Coming in, selling drugs, purchasing drugs, and as a result of a little entrepreneur apprentice program, everybody in that program was arrested subsequently for a sale of marijuana that was no more than $25 in 1999. I don't never stand up here and say stuff that I can't prove. I can prove it, document it. In 1999, that's what they did. And a continual pattern of that we don't see apprentice programs in the very community where the people needed the lift. What we see is the parade of accolades of how wonderful the leadership over there is doing wonderful things. The wonderful leadership over there destroyed hope, destroyed the ability for young men during that period that is older now, 25 years older now, they can't even get a basic damn job. You know why? They got criminal history. 25 years of that in this city. And what it has resulted into is the inability for people to have hope to pass on to the next generation. So when we see now on the national scale, a young man that's 14 years old that committed murder, painful event, that at 13, authorities was aware of his activity, but you know what saved him? He was white. You know what don't save us? We are black. And what don't save our communities as they continue to be gentrified. And most of you all know that in terms of the contracts, the apprentice program, the subcontracts, most of those people can't touch any of those jobs. I don't give a damn what you get paid up there. But what I would like to see is who got courage up there to say that as you build Tampa, that everybody is allowed to participate. Right now, we cannot participate. And when I don't know if you're going to discuss item number 76 when Abby Philly do her report, and the land development zone or whatever you call it, tell us how in our black community we can start creating generational wealth. We're talking about container homes, add-ons, but it's always just a conversation. History is watching all of you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Ms. Robin Lockett, followed by Mr. Ryan Hayes.
Tough to get out these seats.
Good morning. Please state your name.
Good morning, Robin Lockett. There was a housing plan created, and I'm talking about the budget. I'm talking about the $12 million or therein the $50 million from the last budget around housing. There was a housing plan created and it outlined how the money was going to be spent. Because the people that championed the plan are gone, we need to ensure that the commitment to affordable housing continues. This council and the CRA committed historic amounts of money to affordable housing, repairing people's homes and adding more units. The plan on the city website says there is $82 million. The $50 million was supposed to preserve and add new units. What is happening with the owner-occupied rehab program and the other projects that were a part of the plan? We need to ensure this council remains committed to affordable housing and following through, even though leadership has changed. I know for sure there's something else I wrote. Okay, so my question is, I want to follow the money. I want to know where the money is. It was a historic event a year ago, but where are the RFPs? Where is the money? So I want to follow the money. I haven't been involved in the current budget conversations because guess what? We've been trying to get people elected. But I want to follow the money. And I couldn't make it down here last week, and by God's grace, that's probably good. We need to think about a whole lot of stuff. And I kind of comes up here often and talks about the journey in the Black community and what hasn't been, not what has been done, but what hasn't been done. But that's through her lens. That's through the Black community lens. You guys can sit there and say, you know, there was a statement made last week that the reason why people don't vote is because they know this is the greatest city. But I hold true. That's through that person's lens. But when you're in that seat, you have to wonder, you have to think something different. You have to try to even attempt to look through a cloudy lens other than your own, your clear lens. Because people that don't think that way or feel that way, the Black community that's from here, that lives in East Tampa, they don't feel that way. Oh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Herta, did you want staff here for the items that you pulled?
I need Mr. O'Hara.
Mr. O'Hara. Yeah.
And then for the first four.
28, 33, 34, and 55.
Yes, and then I need whatever staff is necessary for 40 and 42.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Ryan Hayes is the next speaker. Good morning, sir. Followed by Daryl Heitch.
I've heard from the gentleman.
Wait.
Signs are not available. First and foremost, good morning, Councilwoman and Councilmen.
Please state your name.
Ryan Hayes. On behalf of Here with Cairo and Friends, but I'm also a change agent. I'm in the mental health sector. The reason why I have this sign, there's no company's name. I'm sorry. Come boy. It's a huge sign that says beer, 16 ounces, as low as 99 cents. And they are plastered all throughout Circle K to be specific. I am a mental health therapist counselor, and with individuals in substance abuse and substance recovery and disorders, I'm just speaking on behalf of the community that I serve on a professional level. With them having to drive home and just everyday citizens having to, am I able to show this sign or no?
No.
Okay. Well, it's egregious, and I'm just trying to see if there could be any type of ordinances put in place to where corporations cannot just try to overreach the community with alcohol. The next subject matter I was here about 2 months ago in regards to Cairo and Friends. We are not panhandling and soliciting our services for funds nor grants. We are trying to look for opportunities to outreach to our community. We have unfortunately had to close our community empowerment store, which is called Cairo's Garage, where we help individuals economize and reallocate funds to their savings and top priorities. Mr. John Bennett has been stellar with communicating with me and just pointing me in the right direction. I know nothing can just be done overnight. We've been established since 2000, 2019, myself, I have been able to fully operate Kairos and Friends by myself. On a weekly basis, we receive 2 to 3 pallets full of donations from Walmart. I'm doing this all on my own. I don't have a staff. I don't have delegates. I don't have anything. It's just me, my fiance, and our 3 pups that keep everything moving. The place that we were at is corroding. It's deteriorating. We've outgrown the place. It's 500 square feet. We have 2 tractor trailers, a 48-foot and a 40-foot tractor trailer, where we have over 7 figures in our pipeline with a brand new material. We cannot facilitate that type of product being in a storefront of 500 square feet and with no AC. We've been there for over a year and 4 months. We have a letter of recommendation from the gentleman and never missed or never late on a lease. But I'm coming here to see if there can be any type of opportunity, if the city of Tampa can't, with the outreach and the community support that you have, if y'all can please go on our website, look at our Google profile. I'm pretty sure there's no other nonprofit that's not a $1 million or $1 billion corporation that can hold a flame to us. We have over 443 5-star Google reviews. I don't mean to brag about it, but if we're talking about on a authentic and transparent overview, it's substantial what one person has had to do on their own. There's no staff, there's no marketing or anything. So I'm here to, once again, bring this awareness and see if there's anything that the city of Tampa can implement with Cairo and Friends.
Chief Bennett, do you have his contact information? I'm going to get with the chief, and then I'm going to reach out to you.
I graciously appreciate that.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, next up is Mr. Darrell Heitch, followed by Mr. James Wright.
Just being respectful and closing the sign, so.
No, I understand.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. And Ms. Connie, you're a courageous woman. Appreciate your kind words for this matter. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Darrell Heitch. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you heard about public-private partnerships to uplift low-income areas, reforms to policing, or the need to address mass incarceration? And thought, well, that's important, only to see nothing happen. It's not that people don't know about these issues. It's not that the solutions aren't clear. It's that, simply put, nobody cares. Nobody cares that the entire communities of color remain trapped in the cycle of poverty because the investments that could change their lives are delayed, watered down, or abandoned. We hear the plans, we read the promises, but still these low-income areas remain left behind because the people with power, they tend to think that we have time. They believe that there is always tomorrow to deal with the inequities of today. Nobody cares that African Americans remain disproportionately incarcerated, that rehabilitation remains a hollow promise, and that reentry is often a dead end. Until it's your brother, your mother, your father, your friend caught up in these systems designed to keep people down rather than to lift them up, it's easy for you to look away. Nobody cares that in our schools, they aren't learning about the full truth about the history of our country. They aren't learning about slavery or Jim Crow or how the legacies still shape inequality today. We're erasing history to make ourselves feel better about the present, and in doing so, we are denying future generations knowledge to a better tomorrow. And here's the thing. Until we all care, until we all fully care, nothing will change. See, we've been coming down here for over a year, nearly a year, talking about resolution number 568. September the 3rd was the 4-year anniversary. Not a mention. But you know what? I've come to conclude, nobody cares. And it's time to stop pretending that tomorrow is promised. It's time to stop hoping that someone else would do the work. It's time to start caring today. It's time to look into your own mirror when you walk past your mirror when you leave home in the morning. And ask yourself, do I really care? Because we're at that point now, that we're at the point of tears and frustration and anger. Because yet, nobody cares.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Next speaker is James Wright, followed by Ms. Keela McCaskill. James Wright is in the back of the room, sir. We'll give him a moment. Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning.
Please state your name.
Mr. Chairman and members.
Say your name is Coach Wright. State your name.
Aye,
State your name.
I am going
Okay.
to. She wanted to jump ahead of what I was going to say. My name is James Wright. I'm a longtime member of the Yellow Jackets Little League. I come this morning to thank you for listening to our league's cry for fairness, and to give a special thanks to Councilwoman Henderson for her comments and efforts on our behalf. The first in 7 years. No one else has ever stepped up from the city and spoken up. So we appreciate that, and we want to thank her very much and the council for stepping in. Also, on 8/15, we had an article in the Times regarding our league, and 2 city officials spoke, noting that I did not call their name. I call them city officials. I just want you to know one thing. Both comments from the city officials were not fact. And I just want you to keep in mind that those 2 officials I have never spoken to. Thank you very much for your patience and time. Have a good morning.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, our last speaker is Ms. Keela McCaskill. Good morning, ma'am. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Keela McCaskill. I didn't come to talk about this, but I'm glad to hear the salary increases on the budget. But I think I was the first person to talk about it when we were spoiled with council members. We had Councilmember Dingfelder, we had Councilmember Gould, we had Carlson, we had Guido, we had active city council members. I don't know about now. I still want you to get the raise, but I want you to do some work too. And when we call, we want callbacks, we want engagement, we want action. So I'm coming down here today with, as a founder of a nonprofit organization that works with in marginalized communities. I'm one of the developers that's tasked with redevelopment with some of the families along the Nebraska corridor. And I'm concerned as a resident, I'm concerned as a developer, I'm concerned as a nonprofit with the homeless population along the Nebraska corridor with the new law coming into effect October. And I'm concerned because just in a matter of days, it's gonna be illegal for them to sleep in public places, I believe. I hadn't heard any conversations. There's been no energetic, robust discussions to the public as to what we're gonna do about that, because I've moved from South Tampa to East Tampa, Southeast Seminole Heights, and I'm looking at the homeless population in front of my door, sleep in the middle of the night. You call the police, they may or may not show up. Fire department may or may not stop to check on them. So I'm concerned when this becomes illegal, what's the plan? I hadn't heard it, I hadn't seen anything, and if it's been here, correct me, send it to me because I hadn't seen it. So I've reached out, my client offered me a site along Nebraska in the middle of all the action, in the middle of the homelessness, the crime, and everything else. They offered it as a resource center to say, hey, if the city can partner, put some type of TPD, fire department, some type of activity here as a resource center to address mental health, address homelessness, address some of this crime, and then to address resources so that when this does happen, we're offering this as a solution. There are the major stakeholder along the Nebraska corridor from Florida Avenue to, I would say, Florida to Lake, and they wanted to offer as a resource. I haven't heard anything back from that. I'd like to hear some follow-up. I sent it out. They offer their property for that. I'm equally concerned with another population. That's the senior citizens. 1/3 of the seniors are unsheltered. And I've had your, this needs assessment. I've been going through it, trying to digest it, and to me, it gave me a sense of urgency. But I hadn't seen it reflected here. I hadn't seen it from the administration. I hadn't seen it from here, CRA, nowhere. Not really addressing the housing crisis as we should. And I want to know for this, what's the plan? I don't see the urgency to match the actions that's reflected here in the report. Is this final? I don't know how it's going to impact us when most of the, the institutional knowledge has walked out the door. Has Nicole Travis's role been replaced? Is it on the market? Is it available? How is the lack of staff going to affect us? Because we have crisis going on, and we don't have enough staff to make it happen. What are you going to do to make sure that we're not suffering even more as a result? Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, that concludes public comment. We're going to go, yes? Oh, okay. We're going to go to item number 4. Ms. Shirley Fox Knowles, yes, ma'am, there you are. We have a position open for the Barrio Latino Commission.
Yes, good morning, Council.
Good morning.
Shirley Fox Knowles, City Clerk. I'm here to introduce Mr. Chase Corley,
Come on up,
who
sir.
works in finance, and he's asking to be appointed as an alternate member of the Barrio Latino Commission.
Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Chase Corley. Good morning, Honorable Chair Maniscalco and members of City Council. My name is Chase, and I'm here today because I'd like to be appointed for the alternate position on the Barrio Latino Commission. A little bit about me. I graduated from the University of Tampa with a Bachelor's of Science in Finance in 2018. I was heavily involved with multiple organizations and founded the UT Guitar Club while I was there. Right after that, I orchestrated the Jimi Hendrix commemoration in Curtis Dixon Park in 2019. I've lived downtown for the last 8 years. My background is finance and business. I also have 2 master's degrees from UT, an MBA and an MS in finance. I've led large professional development programs and dynamic and fast-paced work settings before. I'm also involved in volunteer organizations here in Tampa Bay, such as Around the World with St. Jude Gala Committee, Tampa Theater Wine Fest Committee, UT Board of Counselors, and also the Guild at the Dolly. I've also been fortunate enough to operate the historic streetcars and have a really strong connection with Ybor City's living history. One of my favorite spots in Ybor is Parque Jose Marti, and as a full circle moment, I actually had the opportunity to study at El Centro de Estudios Martianos in Havana, Cuba while I was a student at UT. And I thoroughly enjoyed exploring Cuba and meeting its people. The park is really a special place to reflect on how fortunate we are to have such a unique and wonderful community in Ybor City and in Tampa. And what I love about this commission is that it balances the historic past with a vision for the future. And I would be honored to serve this community as a member. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council members? Councilmember Clendenin and Councilmember Miranda.
You had me at streetcar. So there you go. Now, as we look at the Barrio, I think one of the things we're doing a good job, and the commission is doing a great job of historical preservation. We need to incorporate some green space, more green space into the Barrio. So that's one of the things to just keep in mind as you move forward. Thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
I just want to say a very impressive person. I've never met you, and congratulations, graduation from University of Tampa with 2 degrees, right?
Yes, sir. 2 masters and a bachelor's from there.
I got as far as under the masters. But thank you very much for who you are and what you've done in the past, and I'm sure you'll be an excellent individual on this board.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Vieira Carlson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I wanted to echo what folks have said. Your resume and your background seems stellar. Your presentation is stellar.
and you seem like a very impressive person, and just everything that you listed is amazing. So I just wanted to commend you for, being somebody who's obviously very, very busy, makes yourself busier by wanting to serve the public and everything. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, just echo the same thing. Congrats on all your experience in a short amount of time. The thing I especially wanted to mention is I'm glad you spent some time studying in Cuba, and I'm glad you mentioned the Jose Marti Park. This is the history of Tampa and Cuba, as I have said in talking about other places. Tampa was the main gateway to Cuba when Miami was a little fishing village, and even our logo in the city is symbolic of the regular steamship lines between Tampa and Cuba. And our history with Jose Marti is something we can be really proud of. About 10 years ago, I sponsored through the Florida Humanities Council a thing called the Jose Marti Trail. If you haven't listened to it, go on. It's a free audio tour that talks about the history of Jose Marti and Ybor, and takes you to 9 different places that he visited. But I think that history is incredibly important to tell, not just for the day that we return to having cruise ships going back and forth to Cuba, but to continue to tell the history and culture. Ybor is evolving. We can't go back to the 50s and bring all the families back, but we can continue to tell the stories of our history and the Jewish history, the Sicilian history, the African American history, the Cuban and Spanish history, etc. And all those stories together create a really unique, dynamic environment for Ybor. And look forward to partnering with you on the evolution of Ybor as we go forward. Thank you.
That was really well said. I like that. That was good. Very good.
All right.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Yes? You have to come back with a resolution?
I have a resolution prepared if you move the resolution.
All right, so we have a motion to move the resolution from Councilmember Miranda with a second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, sir. Welcome to the board. All right. Yes, ma'am. Next, we have a resolution, and this one is approving Mr. James McCarthy as a member of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee for a 3-year term commencing on September 5th, which is today. I know he is here in the audience. Mr. McCarthy, would you like to say anything? You don't have to.
Look forward to it.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to move the resolution from 5? Second. Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, sir. And then last, this is my my appointment to the City Council Citizens Advisory Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Albert Cook. I don't see him here in the audience, but he's served on the CRB for many years. He lives in Ybor City. He's a good person. He's a very intelligent gentleman, and I know he's going to do a fantastic job and join other board members, of which I see Ms. Stephanie Pointer here in the back. So can I get a motion to move item 6? Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we're going to go to our consent agenda. First is public safety with Councilmember Vieira, 7 through 13.
So move 7 through 13.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, next up we have Councilmember Henderson.
For Neighborhood and Community Affairs Committee, I move items 14 through 20.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye. Mr.
Next
Chair.
Yes.
Could I just make a quick comment about 23? May
Is that okay with the chair of the committee? All right.
23 is a contract for a plan for Sulphur Springs, and I think all of us have spent time in Sulphur Springs, and we're concerned about the community. We want to help lift the community up. I looked at the background on the consultant, and I also looked at the detailed workflow. The detailed workflow has a very detailed set of steps that they're going to go through to look at the community. They're going to look at what is that?
Charlie can't fix his phone.
If you look through the scope of work in the contract, it is very detailed. It includes looking at neighborhoods and community and poverty issues, etc. And I want to make sure that we really, I just want to make a statement. I want to make sure that we really focus on all of those things. It's a comprehensive look at economic development, community development, the same as our staff was doing when we had a full economic development staff. In the past, the city has focused on real estate development. We need to focus on economic development. The community in Sulphur Springs doesn't want 20-story high rises with glass towers. They want the community uplifted. And when I looked at the background of the folks involved, I didn't see any African Americans, so I hope they have some African Americans on their team. I hope they have Hispanics on their team and others to represent the community and understand the complexities of the community. But most importantly, I hope that they don't focus on real estate development. And I can tell that they were picked, and the scope of work reflects that they're not going to just do that. But all the discussion about a CRA worries me, because it seems like there are developers who just want to go in and gentrify everything, and what I want to do is make sure we build up the community. And so I'm happy this is going forward. I just want to make sure that whoever ends up managing them really manages this to help the community, not try to gentrify it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Hurtak, would you like to make a motion to move those items except for 28?
Yes, I move to move items 21 through 27 and 29.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. All right, next up, Councilmember Miranda. If you could move items 30, 31, and 32. All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. All right, Councilmember Carlson, if you could move 35 through 45.
41 and 42 have been pulled.
Oh, I'm sorry. So if you could move 35 to 39, then 41, then 43, 4, and 5.
So what he said.
Yeah, motion from Council, there's so many numbers. Motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor? Aye. Aye, okay. I'm going quickly here. All right, Councilmember Clendenin, move 46 through 54.
I move items 46 through 54.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Item number 56, this is to call for a public hearing for October 17, 2024 at 10:30 a.m. in the City Council Chambers, Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa 33602. Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are going to go into our, yes. Huh?
66?
Oh, yeah, now that we've had public comment, we're going to move 66 through 70. Do we have a motion?
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in, Vieira, all in favor? Aye. All right, that settles those. Those are under the staff report. So we're going to need a motion. It's only 10 o'clock. A motion to open the 10 a.m. public hearing. Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the item number 57 is a non-quasi judicial, so we don't need to swear anybody in, but the following ones are. Come on up, sir, if you'd like to kick it off. And there will be public comment for these public hearings, so go ahead, sir.
Eric Cotton, Development Coordination. This is second reading for the text amendment for the Ebor parking lot, section 27-178. Between first and second reading, council instructed staff to make certain specific changes to the code, including changing the effective date of the ordinance to October 15th, 2024. Corrective scriveners are related to general parking standards in subsection A1. Clarify that applications for new principal parking lots will be reviewed by the Barrio Latino Commission, that all service lots must meet all the service parking standards set forth in the code, and clarify that the contact information on the signage for the security company would be the security company with their specific numbers, not a specific security guard. With that, once we hear public comment, I'd appreciate if this could be approved.
All right, do we have any comments or questions from council members? If not, I'm going to take it to public comment. Yes, sir, come on up. Please state your name.
Good morning, Council. Steve Michelini.
Good morning, sir.
There are a couple things that are problematic in the code that's being presented. One of them is there's no provision for legal non-conforming lots, and there's no reference in the code that says legal non-conforming lots are exempt from these standards. And those are lots that were established legally before 1987 when that code was changed. There's also no provision in there for having submitted applications for approval for lots Normally, under all of the other codes, when you submit an application and accept it, and it's into the system, that vests you under the old code. This code indicates that you have to have an approved set of plans by the effective date. So this is a departure from all of the other city codes, as far as I know. I mean, there may be some exceptions, but I believe that building codes, fire marshal codes, like all of the life safety codes, if you are under the old system and you have an accepted application, you're vested under that code. This code is different. It makes you have to have a permit. I'd like to show you this diagram that was prepared by the city. I've shown it to you before, where the average processing time, these are averages now. This has nothing to do with whether or not you have to go through the Barrio and permitting through the Construction Services Center. Commercial alterations, 34 days, 22 days for miscellaneous, new construction, 49 days. So you're basically, even though you may have changed the date, there's not enough time. I would urge you to change that code and make the vesting occur when you have an application that's been accepted by the city. We have a number of properties that are currently in review. I'm going to raise the issue again regarding paid versus unpaid lots. And we've sent this to you before, where you have paid lots immediately adjacent to unpaid lots, and it makes no sense to have security required for one and not the other. And those are three different views of the proximity of paid versus unpaid lots. The last thing I want to mention is that, as I said, we have projects that are in the system. There's a list of them. Not all of those are permitted. And so we're at risk of immediately being found to have to go through the rezoning process and an entire review of those applications, which is unfair. You also have documents previously submitted. We'd like to have those made part of the record regarding our objections to this.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Next speaker. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Stephanie Pointer. It's my understanding that the neighborhood doesn't have any problems with these changes, but after Mr. Michelini spoke, I have some comments. First of all, the unpaid lots are for businesses. I had to figure out what that was. And those businesses actually have people in them. And so the difference between an unpaid lot and a paid lot makes sense. They are two totally different things, because if somebody sees something stupid happening in the Columbia parking lot, guess what? There's an employee there to take care of it. They can walk in and tell the person at the front desk, hey, there's something going on in your parking lot. You might want to check on that. And guess what? I'm guessing that they're going to go out there and check on it. So, and you know what? Do I have any pity that they're going to have to bring their crap up to code? Some of these parking lots that are paid lots are $35 to park in for a day. Who you kidding? For a parking lot, I haven't had a chance to investigate yet, but I know that vacant lots, their taxes don't go up the same way houses do. So does their tax rate go up? I don't know. I haven't had a chance to check on that, but it's one of my things on my to-do list because I have nothing else to do. But I know that the neighbors like the way it is, like what's coming forward. Is it perfect? No. How long have they known that these code changes are coming? A long stinking time. Are we supposed to feel sorry for them that they haven't been proactive at fixing the problem before? No, we really don't need to be, because the neighbors have been dealing with this crap for years. How would you like to have cars slamming doors at 3 o'clock in the morning? How would you like to have people fist fighting out there? How would you like to have people drinking in the parking lot next door to your house? And those are the people who have come down here. So you just think about what it's like to live next door to them when you make this vote. Because frankly, I don't give a crap how the paid parking people feel about it, because it's about the citizens who have to live next door. And you know what? That paid parking people, they got one vote. Now they're going to write a big old check when it comes to election time, but they still only got one vote.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here? Because I have 5 registered speakers. Are they all online? All right, so we're going to start with Stephanie Harrison Bailey, our first speaker, followed by Mr. David Bailey. Go ahead, Stephanie. If you would unmute yourself and state your name.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Please state your name.
Stephanie Harrison Bailey here. Good morning, City Council. I would just like to second everything that Stephanie Pointer just said. The neighborhood, me being one of those residents, is fully in favor of these code changes. Really, most of the things that the parking lots are being required to get up to code are pieces of the code that have already been in place for many years. So the argument that they don't have time to come up to this code is a little silly to me. And so I would just ask that City Council vote in favor of these code changes. And that's all. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. And our last speaker is Mr. David Bailey.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please state your name.
David Bailey, Historic Ybor City. Good morning, Council, and thank you for hearing this topic. You've heard it twice before. This is not perfect, but this is progress, and we need this progress in Ybor City. As both of the Stephanies have said, many of the things that are going to be required have already been required for 20 years. So we understand that there's more to be done, but this is progress. And if we wait for everything to be perfect, we're going to be waiting too long. We're going to be waiting decades more. So we ask, Historic Ybor asks that you support this measure, move forward, and do the right thing for Ybor City. Thank you.
Councilmember Hurtak.
Oh, are we done?
Oh, that was the last public comment speaker. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to speak on this because this is something that I've been working on for a while, and I started this basically when I started council, due to the complaints from the neighbors and from police officers that needed more assistance because they didn't have the personnel to police private property. And I'm really happy that we can finally get this passed. So I would love to read the substitute ordinance when it's time, if there's anybody else.
Any other questions or comments from council members? Yes, sir. Councilmember Carlson, Councilmember Condon.
No, as we talked about last time, there are things that we still need to do to either fix this or to create an add-on or a parallel document, including the unpaid lots. I've mentioned a couple times on the night of Halloween where the mass shooting happened, 2 hours later there was a drive-by shooting in a private unpaid lot only a couple blocks away. And so we need to figure out how to resolve those issues. The crime is happening in unpaid and paid lots. It can't hold up this today, but we need to address that separately, and the concerns that have been mentioned need to be addressed as well. Thank you.
Councilmember Clendenin.
Echoing exactly what was just said, the disparity between the paid and unpaid, I think is something that has to be eventually looked at. But we'll also, you got to start somewhere, and so this is step A. It's not necessarily the end of the road, but it's a good step forward, or leap forward from where we were. And this will give us also data to see if it improves the situation. So this is a movement forward. But we still need to keep an eye on all of the properties and all of the lots and how we deal with it going forward.
All right, Councilman Vieira.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I'll again support this. I obviously salute Councilwoman Hurtak. It's good to work on something for a while and see the chickens coming home to roost in a good way, and so to see the results of hard work done, et cetera. This is something that to me moves public safety forward, and I'll be glad to support it. Thank you.
All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearing? Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Councilmember Hurtak, you wanted to read the substitute?
Thank you. File number E 2024-8, Chapter 27, substitute ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, relating to publicly initiated text amendments, making revisions to the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 27, zoning and land development, amending Section 27-178, alternative parking requirements, repealing all ordinances or part of ordinances in conflict therewith, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Clendenin. Please record your vote.
Motion carried with Maniscalco voting no.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to, no. Let's see, it's still not 10:30. So the public hearings are open for the 10 o'clock. These are quasi judicial hearings moving forward. If you're here to speak on any of these 10 a.m. public hearings, please stand, raise your right hand, we'll swear you in. We have no registered speakers, so it's everybody that's in the room. Thank you very much. Mr. Shelby? These are the 10 o'clock. I don't want to, I'm looking at my watch, make sure I don't hit the 10:30. I opened the 10 a.m., not the 10:30, because I want to be precise. It's eerily quiet in here today. That's concerning. That's concerning. As an overthinker, it's concerning. All right, item number 54. I'm sorry, 58. Can't even see today. 58. Do we have a petitioner for 58? Yes, sir. I see Mr. Thomas. Go ahead, sir. Do you have anything?
Good morning, St. Thomas Development Coordination. Item number 58 is REZ 2443. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 3614 Temple Street. The request is to rezone from residential multifamily 16 to residential multifamily 18. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Thomas? No. Councilmember Hurtak, you were absent at the vote for 58. Were you able to review the record?
Yes, I was. Thank you.
Yes, applicant, come on up. Please say your name.
Good morning. My name is Maria Curi, and I'm the agent. We just looking to rezoning the property from RM16 to RM18.
Anything else? Any questions from council members? No. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item 58?
Motion to close. Second.
We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Miranda, would you mind reading 58?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 58, REZ 24/43. Orders being presented for rezoning property in general vicinity of 3614 Temple Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1, from zoning district classification RM16 residential multifamily to RM18 residential multifamily, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Briera. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Item number 59.
St. Thomas Development Coordination. Item number 59 is REZ 2446. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 5825 South 5th Street. The request is to rezone from residential single family 60 to residential single family 50. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? Nope. The dogs? Yes.
My item is coming off.
Yes, sir. Please say
I'm
your
not
name.
sure I understood what the dog said.
I think they might be in favor. We'll see. Yes, sir.
Steve McElhaney, I'm here on behalf of the petitioner. There were no objections, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the gentleman? No. Do we have anybody in the public to speak on item 59?
Okay.
I see no one. Motion to close from Councilman Clendenin, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Vieira, would you mind reading 59?
Yes, sir. Move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 5825 South 5th Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1, from zoning district classification RS60 residential single family to RS50 residential single family, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira with a second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, council.
Thank you very much. Item number 60.
St. Thomas Development Coordination. Item number 60 is REZ 2448. This item is a request to rezone the property located at 2201 North Glenwood Drive. The request is to rezone from residential single family 60 to residential single family 50. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? I see no one. Do we have an applicant for item number 60? I see no one. There's no one registered. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 60? I see no one. So we have motion closed from Councilman Clendenin, second from Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Henderson, would you mind reading 60?
Yes, Chair. File number REZ 2448, an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2201 North Glenwood Drive in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RS 60 residential single family to RS 50 residential single family, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Vieira. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item number 61 is next.
San Thomas Development Coordination. Item number 61 is REZ 2451. This item is a rezoning request for the property located at 701, 705, and 801 East Wilma Street. The request is to rezone from residential single-family 60 to commercial neighborhood for residential multifamily 18. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Thomas? I see no one. Is there anybody in the applicant for item 61?
Yes.
Oh, okay, Mr. LaRocca. Was he sworn in?
Good morning.
Wait,
John
please raise your right hand and we'll swear you in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir. Please state your name again.
John LaRocca, Murphy LaRocca Consulting, 3225 South McGill Avenue, representing the applicant and owner. Nothing new to add since the close and action taken at the first reading. I'm here to answer questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on 61?
Motion to close.
We have a motion to close from Councilman Clendenin, second Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilman Clendenin, would you mind reading 61?
I move file number REZ 2451, an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 701, 705, and 801 East Wilma Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 1, from zoning district classifications RS 60 residential single family and CN commercial neighborhood to RM 18 residential multifamily, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second Councilman Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to open the 10:30 public hearing? We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilman Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? This is also quasi judicial. So if you're going to speak, is it? Yeah. If you're going to speak on item number 62. Trying to speak quickly. If you're going to speak, please raise your right hand. Stand, raise your right hand, and we'll swear you in for 62. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to clarify, it's not quasi-judicial.
Oh, it's not? Okay, no, I thought it was all bunched in, because the next one is the 130, so. Okay, well, you're sworn, regardless.
Gonna tell the truth.
We're going to swear at you.
Mr. Shelby remains calm that, we followed the procedure, or tried to. Yes, ma'am, please state your name.
Good morning, Abby Feely, Interim Administrator, Development and Economic Opportunity. Item 62 on your agenda is the first public hearing on a proposed development agreement between the City of Tampa and Pinewood BF LLC. The property, I'm going to go into some details on that, is located just a quarter-mile northwest of Southdale Mabry entrance to MacDill Air Force Base. And if Council would indulge me just a moment, I'd like to give a brief history on how the city acquired the property and its intended use at that time, as well as the process on kind of how we got here today. I am aware of some concerns that have been raised with the city's negotiation process for private property. The city in this position acts as the private property owner, and we enter into negotiations many times on our properties to then bring agreements forward to City Council. And the process we follow is designed to ensure thorough evaluation of the properties, decision-making, balancing efficiency with the needs of public input at appropriate stages. So our approach involves this careful consideration of the proposals that are brought to us, good faith negotiations, and structured opportunities for public feedback, which is where we are today. This is the public hearing on this matter. And while there may be desire to have public input at other phases, there's reasons why we don't. And some of those reasons are the complexity of the issues, the confidentiality of the information. It's like when you're selling your home and you enter into negotiations, that's your private property. The city puts forth experts to go sit at the table and to work through those matters. The preliminary nature of evaluations, proposals come in, they could be very preliminary in nature. We might not get to what we're bringing you to the 7th or 8th iteration of that, and then we bring it to you like we are today, and we have a public hearing that we are today. So I'm gonna work through the proposal that's before you today, and we always work to be transparent, ensure transparency, provide opportunities for feedback. We believe that forum is in front of you and the public this morning. So in 2022, the city was approached by the adjacent property. I'll show you. This is the city's property here in yellow. The adjacent property is shown in blue. You can see McDill over to the east, Pinewood to the north, Markham Street to the south. You may recall this property because there was a rezoning on the blue piece that was approved by City Council for a hotel and a parking lot. The developer came to the city and requested utilization of a portion of the yellow property, the city's property, for parking associated with future development of the parcel. Not for the hotel that City Council approved, but for an additional hotel that they would be seeking at a later time. In considering this request, the city goes back and we looked at how did we get the yellow piece of property? How did we buy it? What went on? So actually in 2005, the city got a dig grant to purchase that property from Enterprise Florida as part of protection to provide a buffer to the base. In 2006, once that grant was received, we actually performed the purchase of the property. And since 2006, the property has sat there with no funded improvements to activate the property, so to speak. The property is part of the South Tampa Greenway and Trails Master Plan. The most recent piece of that we completed is behind the West Shore Marina District. And pursuant to the grant agreement that we used to acquire it, there are no formal restrictions, but the intent was to serve the Greenways and Trails program and to provide encroachment protection and an environmental buffer. So since the acquisition, as I mentioned, it has remained unused. The city has no allocated budgeted funds for the improvements. And recently, when the developer approached the city with the proposal, it presented a valuable opportunity to create the trailhead without imposing any financial obligation on the city. So this proposal allows us to enhance the property with minimal cost to the public while adding value to the community. In relation to this matter, we have two different instruments. One is the development agreement that talks about the construction of the improvements, who's responsible, who's paying, how that all works. And I have a quick slide on that. And we have a license agreement, which is who gets to use the property and maintain it once the improvements are made. So the development agreement addresses the construction of the site improvements, both the park and the parking lot, the cost of planning, design, and construction for both the park and the parking lot, and that is to be done by the developer, the improvements for substantially completing the park prior to CO of the first hotel. So if the additional development never happens on this property, we are going to get these improvements constructed and completed by the developer prior to CO of the hotel. And that Parks is involved with the design, approving the design, including all plants and trees that will be placed, and then maintenance. The park maintenance, the developer for the first year will take care of the maintenance and routine grounds maintenance for all subsequent years. And that same maintenance responsibility for the developer is in the license agreement as well. And then we have the maintenance, everything related to the parking lot portion of the parcel, the developer is responsible for. And let me just put up, I skipped over this, so, and quickly, this is the PD that is approved on the blue piece. You'll see the hotel on the west and parking. The proposal that was brought to the city for consideration, but is still subject to all rezoning and coming before the city council, considers a second hotel to be placed, the acre for the parking, and the 1.5 acres for the park. The park improvements also include 30 exclusive parking spaces for the park, as well as on-street spaces for the park. So once all of this would get constructed and improved, the second part to this is then a license agreement, and that will be coming back before you on the 19th, but you can't talk about one without talking about the other. The license agreement says once all of these things are improved, you may have the right to use now the property. So instead of leasing it, we do a license agreement for a 20-year period. The 87 spaces that are in the parking lot are non-exclusive spaces until such time that the second hotel would take place. So if the second hotel never gets approved, never takes place, the parking is there, it's available, and there are non-exclusive rights to that. And then there is construction of the 30 spaces for the park, and then the one matter, the stormwater. The stormwater from the park and the parking lot are going to be accommodated on the hotel's stormwater retention. And I will let Mr. Gardner and his team speak to that when we turn it over to them. So the property, as I just discussed, is proposed to be developed in 2 phases. That first one, the first hotel is in permitting. I did go through the permit last night just to double check everything. It is in permitting. And I don't think Tony Mulkey, did Tony Mulkey come in? Not yet, okay. Tony Mulkey, as well as Rebecca Johns and myself and the real estate department have been the negotiation team on this for the past 2 years with the developer to get this to the point in front of you this morning. And I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Gardner now to speak a little bit more specifically to their elements of this.
I have a question first. Why are you bringing a development agreement for something that we haven't approved, a rezoning we haven't approved? So what happens if we don't approve this hotel?
There is one hotel that is already approved.
Yes, but what if we don't approve the second hotel?
You don't have to.
But generally, when you do these things, like bringing the second hotel, you bring the development agreement at that time. That's normally how this works. So I'm curious what the difference is with this and why we're doing it what I would consider backwards.
Rebecca Johns, Legal Department. So the development agreement actually is not tied to the second hotel. They have to build the park pursuant to the development agreement before they get the CO for the first hotel. So even if the second hotel never comes into play, we still have the park and they would construct the parking lot.
Okay, so this development agreement is connected to the first hotel, not the second hotel.
The development agreement is connected to the parking lot, the use of the parking lot.
Well, the use of the city's property for a parking lot. That's what the development agreement is tied to, regardless of that other development, yes.
Thank you. And then I just felt the need to respond to the part about the first public hearing being, you said that having public input at appropriate times. And my concern is that 10:30 a.m. on a Thursday is not accessible for the majority of the public. I understand that this is a first public hearing, but I'm concerned that there wasn't an evening meeting in the area of this development agreement, because that's actually what's accessible to the public. We've gotten numerous emails on this, but people can't come because it's 10:30 on a Thursday. So I don't know if that's something that we need to reconsider somehow and make sure there's actually a public meeting in the area of where we have development agreements going forward. But that is the big concern for me is I understand the position of the city and needing to negotiate, but after a negotiation or after we think we are set, having that meeting with the community in the evening, even if it's between these two public hearings, whatever works, I think it's something that we need to look at going forward so that the public really does have the access other than simply email on a Thursday morning.
I appreciate that and understand that, and that's not a problem.
Councilmember Carlson, then Councilmember Condon.
Yeah, we in council working with you and others have set more guidelines for public engagement. But even if the guidelines don't require it, not going to the public has caused us to get a whole bunch of emails, a bunch of calls, and there's lots of concern in the community. And so even if we don't create a formal process, I wish that we could proactively think about these things leak out, and when signs go up, people start talking about them. I understand the rationale for having a private conversation, but somehow, as we know the public is going to find out, we need to make sure that the public is engaged in some way. So we can talk about that another time. The other thing, and I'll just make a few comments, maybe you can comment at the end, but it seems like we've treated this, and I don't remember the term, like an irregular or remainder lot instead of like a regular piece of property. You know, one of my concerns in the past is the city has sold piece of property without putting them out for bid, and the developers in the community say, well, if I had known, I would have paid more for it. I think if it's an irregular piece or a remainder piece, there's some rules on how we can get around that. But I wonder, was there a competitive bid? Was there an appraisal of the property as to the value of it, or evaluation in some way? And then in terms of the grant, I know with the federal government, if they give you a grant, you can, if you change the use of it, you can pay them back with interest or something like that. In this case, it was Enterprise Florida, which doesn't exist anymore. I think you said there were no ties to it. Could we have sold this piece of property? Could we have had a competitive bid and just sold this piece outright instead of having the license agreement? And then connected to that, we went through, I think it was Councilmember Suarez and maybe Mulhern years ago who realized that the parks in the city were zoned for residential use, and we went through and changed it, working I think with your team and others. We changed them all to be a park status to protect the parks in the future. So I wonder, has this one been included in that process? I don't remember it going through. Is it protected at all as park space, and what limits does that put on it? And then if not, what's the plan to protect at least the remaining part of it for the future? Sorry, a bunch of questions.
As far as the competitive bid response, we did not perform a competitive bid because at this time it was not our desire to put the piece out for RFP for park development. We were approached, which many times we are, with an opportunity to do what the property had been purchased for in 2005. It is in the Greenways and Master Trails plan. It is not in the parks. It is not a dedicated park as of today because it has not been improved as a park use as of to date. I can talk to the Enterprise Florida. We did research back on the purchase, the grant award. I do not believe that we would sell it outright. It is partially in the clear zone, and there is no vertical development that could take place here. So that is why I believe in 2005 we originally purchased it, to be that environmental buffer and to be part of the trail program and serve as a trailhead with associated parking. I wish Tony were here to speak a little bit. Oh,
He's online now.
Oh, Tony, hi. to speak a little bit about, getting those things teed up. I did mention progressively, we've had other opportunities where the Greenways and Master Trail is now coming down from Gandy along that boat ramp in through West Shore Marina, and then it does actually come down. And this was part of that connection from the picnic island to the Gadsden Park area. So I think in relationship to future, and once this park is improved, yes, we could dedicate this, that's not a problem, and ensure its protection. Although I do believe, given the location, it cannot be vertically developed. So.
Councilmember Clendon. Oh, Mr. Mulkey, then Councilmember Clendon.
Morning, Council.
Good morning.
Tony Mulkey, Parks and Recreation Director. Apologize for not being in chambers, but your efficiency is impressive this morning. Just here to answer any questions about the process here. I think we did have a very considered process internally to try and get a good value for the city, especially with the limitations on this site. Being in the clear zone, we're very limited as to what we can do on this site, but it does fall within that South Tampa Greenways plan, as Administrator Feely referenced, and I'm happy to answer any specifics on this.
Councilmember Clendon and Councilmember Miranda.
Yes, I'm actually in new business today, Councilman Carlson. I'm planning and asking staff to come and try to fix some of those situations. I want to look for an ordinance that we are tighten up some of the rules on how we vacate or transfer control of city-owned properties. So look for that new business today, actually. I'm not necessarily opposed to this idea. I mean, it's kind of creative and kind of interesting. What is the on the status of that piece of property? So it's going to remain city property, and they have a 20-year use of the property. And so at 20 years, what happens?
At the end of the 20 years, the license agreement, yes, I do want to be clear. The city is not conveying our property. We are retaining ownership of this property, all of it. Both the improvements are being made. The park is ours, as well as the parking lot and those improvements associated with that. They are then getting that license agreement to be able to use those spaces non-exclusively or exclusively, depending on what happens down the road, for 20 years. And at the end of the 20 years, there's 2 terms opportunity for renewal.
So there'd be opportunity for, so it wouldn't automatically come back to the city in 20 years.
No.
So for in perpetuity for whatever the renewal period is, in exchange for the park improvements, they're going to get the use of this property tax-free, basically, correct? Property tax-free?
Yes.
Because it would be city, so
Yes.
they'd be able to have that's a mighty big expensive piece of property tax-free for potentially how many years, how many renewals would it be?
Let me clarify. It's not necessarily tax-free, it's rent-free. Whether it's taxed or not depends on whether it fits into an exception for governmental use under the state statute. So I can't tell you whether it's tax-free or right now, but I think we recommend as rent-free.
Yeah, I'd like to have that answer before I made this decision. If we're giving away this, if it's tax-free versus not tax-free, so if there's income being provided and appropriate compensation for the city to.
And I think the other element to this, and Rebecca and I have spoken, I mean, there is a cost, there is a payment being made clearly for the improvements to the parkland, and
right.
So that also is a payment that is being received. In a lot of these cases and other cases through other leases we have on other different matters, there might be a rent payment or something like that. But in this case, that payment's being made up front in the form of creating the park.
Yeah, I get that. One, I don't know what the dollar figure that is and what that would be amortized over the life of that lease. What that ends up being. I mean, this could be a great deal for the city, or it could be the best bargain for a developer ever. I don't know which. I don't think I've got the information to determine which is which yet.
And the annual maintenance that they are
Right,
responsible
right.
for the property.
I think I'd like to see those dollar figures to see what that actually means for the city.
Well, Mr. Gardner may have some of
Okay.
that. So.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two little things here. On the maintenance of the park, who's going to be, or the land, whatever you want to call it, who's going to be responsible for the maintenance? And what type of insurance is going to be necessary to make sure that the city is held?
The developer is responsible for the maintenance of the property, both sets of improvements. And then on the insurance, I need to check with Rebecca and Ron on what the insurance requirement is. I know it's in the agreement.
And
so.
just on the stated earlier, on the parklands, the city of Tampa cannot sell once something's dedicated parkland at all. It's got to be done by a referendum, and the public's got to vote on it. It's not even the government. That's what we did in the.
But this isn't designated.
Right, it is not, yeah. And then prior to that, it was started back in another administration, but we finished it up in the pre-administration about, I don't know, 10 years ago.
And we can dedicate this once it's done. Like I said, I think under the purchase and the grant agreement, it's clear what the proposed purpose was for, and there would not be other development, but that's not a problem. We could make a modification to that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gardner?
Good morning, Truett Gardner, 400 North Astor Drive, here on behalf of Pinewood BF LLC and in particular Brian Funk. Just first, right off the bat, I just want to dispel any sort of notion or rumor that this was some sort of clandestine negotiation. Not that at all. In fact, I want to thank Abby and Rebecca for being so patient with us through this process. It is a unique situation, I think a unique opportunity for the city. I think when you look at the deal terms skew largely in favor of the city. To answer two questions, one from you, Councilmember Miranda, on insurance, I just took a look just to confirm the developer is responsible for providing insurance. There's actually a schedule, it's Schedule E, on the back of the agreement that has all the insurance that has to be provided. Councilmember Clendenin, on the tax issue, just to be clear, there will not be any vertical improvements that the developer will have on the city lease property. What they're getting in exchange for this is just some additional parking should the second hotel be built. So just to go back and reiterate, regardless of what happens, and I think this is what makes this unique, regardless of what happens with this second hotel, the provision of the first hotel is the trigger, and their ability to get their CO is contingent upon them providing the improvements fully paid for by them, which the estimate of those improvements alone is in excess of $400,000. And then the ongoing maintenance. I'm not sure if Mr. Funk has numbers on the maintenance, but perhaps he does, and we can share that with you. But just wanted to be clear, one on the insurance question, and then second on the taxation situation. I don't think there's much to be taxed with a surface parking lot that'll just be provided and shared between the city and the developer, but just wanted to stress there is no vertical improvement allowed or proposed for at all on the property that would be leased from the city.
But you wouldn't be able to, it's the combination of that surface parking lot and the proposed second hotel. You couldn't do that. So the second hotel does have value that could not happen without the additional parking. So there is value to the parcels of those properties.
Most definitely, yes.
So,
Our other option.
I just want to see the balance.
I get it.
Over the potential expanded lease period of the first term and then proposed extensions, what that will actually the city gets for it over that period, amortized over that period of time versus what we lose as far as potential revenue.
Right.
If we were able to parlay this in a different way.
I think in full candor, what the city gets is it's a trailhead connection. They get a park that there was no funding for, not even really contemplated. It's on a piece of property, and Abby's got a brief presentation that'll show you it's undevelopable. So as far as value that it may have, it's negligible. So that's what the city gets, which I think is great. Selfishly, on the developer standpoint, what they get is this parking. We could and potentially come back to you with a PD should they go forward with the second hotel, asking for a parking waiver, where that would not necessitate this area of parking. That would be the other alternative. But I think it's better for the city and better for the developer to provide that parking, and that's what they get is that area of parking for that second hotel, should it be developed. But again, regardless of whether it's developed or not, the city is going to get this park, and it'll be maintained for a minimum of 20 years.
Again, I'd just like to see that breakdown of cost versus benefit, you know, on both sides. So
Okay.
that we understand what kind of real deal we're getting. Thank you.
And then just the only other thing I really wanted to distinguish is we did negotiate these terms with the city. It was noticed, signs were posted, all that was done completely properly. But I did want to clarify, as it relates to the park design, we have gone a very far way with that. We actually met with Stephanie and Carol Ann. I talked to Stephanie before this. Sounds like they're generally happy with that design. But that design is only in draft form, is still subject to approval ultimately by parks. And so we're coming to you today with specific terms of a development agreement. But as far as the park, which is the big benefit to the city, that still is not done. It's riding alongside this, but that's still out there to be approved.
Thank you very much.
So with that, I know this is a unique situation, both with respect to this unique property, and then also our client, Brian Funk, is unique. And not only is he a developer, he's a lover of parks in the city, was heavily involved with the Swan Park adjacent to Hyde Park Village, has plans to be involved in others. And so that was really the genesis of how this came to be and how we are here today. So with that, just a couple more context slides. Abby did a great job of covering a lot of those, but Addie Clark just has a few that she's going to run through just to provide a little more context, specifically on the undevelopable nature of this property.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Please state your name.
Addie Clark, 400 North Ashley Drive. And if I could please have the HDMI. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we will run through these. Like I said, Abby went over the location of this and the existing conditions. This is a photo. It's a little bit overgrown, a little bit somewhat unsafe. And so the goal here is to really kind of create an overgrown, a little bit unsafe area of the city into a beautiful park that everyone can enjoy. And then here you can see it's 2.5 acres of the city-owned property, and it is proposed to be about 1.5 acres of beautiful community park and then parking. And so here you can see we're proposing shady trees, benches, meandering walking paths, and public parking for everyone to enjoy. We believe that this is a great area for sitting in the shade, reading a book, but also a nice area to, say, kick a soccer ball around or for kids to play tag. And then area in the purple will be parking for development to the west as discussed. And of course, stormwater retention will all be located to the west in vaults. And as we saw last night, that is extremely important in the city. And then here, going to development restrictions, Abby hit on this, how this was a city lot acquired through a federal grant. But then the parcel actually cannot be developed at all with any vertical structure due to its location in the MacDill Air Force Flight Path Clear Zone, which is in red, and then you can see this red kind of thumbtack where the park's property is. So this is an obstruction-free surface area for those planes and for that flight path. And then so this clear zone prohibits the reasonable economic use of the land, which is currently zoned IG, Industrial General, since structures cannot be built for the safety of those in the plane and those outside of the plane. And of course, we believe that this is an overall public benefit. Brian Funk will introduce in a moment. We'll be providing the planning, design, development, and construction of all the improvements, which, as Truett mentioned, are upwards of $400,000. It's not a sale of the land, just a lease only. And then the park will be the entry, to this area. And so it's his priority to keep it clean, safe, and well-maintained at all times. And so with that, I'd like to pass to Brian Funk, who's the developer of this project, to talk about his experience with developing beautiful parks in the city and the vision for this site in particular. Thank you.
Good morning. Please state
Good morning. Brian Funk, Pinewood VF LLC. Good morning, council members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. On behalf of this project, my name is Brian Funk, and I'm the developer of the hotel on the adjacent parcel to the west, and the one entering into the lease and developer agreement, proposed lease and developer agreement for the new city park and additional parking. However, I'm not only here as a developer, but also as a fourth-generation citizen of Tampa and a City of Tampa Parks and volunteer donor with years of experience creating functional trails and green space in Florida and Colorado. The expressway underpass improvements along Swan Avenue, as well as the Swan Pond improvements, were both local volunteer examples of projects that I've led. Speaking as a developer, this park presents a safe and attractive approach to our new Gen 4 Hampton Inn, slightly further down Pinewood Street. The additional proposed parking creates the opportunity for a potential second hotel. These hotels would mainly serve MacDill Air Force Base, as well as certain demand from local neighborhoods. As City Council members and Than correctly pointed out at the rezoning hearing in 2022, having the additional rooms would reduce traffic in the area and on base, as well as provide the base with much-needed meeting room space. Speaking as a citizen of Tampa and a park volunteer, the park is a great opportunity to beautify and activate the local neighborhood. The proposed park will also be a node along the urban greenway and provide connectivity to other parks in the city. These types of nodes and connectivity have been lacking in the city for decades and provide an opportunity to activate the entire city and not just one neighborhood. Last Friday, I met with the leaders of Than and we discussed the park and additional parking. Many good points were made by Ms. Pointer and Mrs. Bennett, and incorporated into the plan, subject to approval from the city. I've shared that with them. I just got that back from my landscape architect as a sign of good faith, and we revised some items, presented that to them earlier. Subject to approval from the city. Specifically, we added 10 more shade trees, mostly live oaks, and are going to price out a different type of asphalt instead of concrete per their suggestion. In all, the lease and developer agreement as they relate to the additional parking provide much-needed park space and connectivity to the immediate area and give the city a means to pay for it without coming out of pocket via a long-term parking lease. The potential for the second hotel to house service members and their loved ones is an additional benefit to be enjoyed by the city of Tampa. Thank you for your time, and I'm open to questions.
Any questions? If not, I'll go to public comment if that concludes the presentation. Councilmember, yes, ma'am.
Just one question. Do you have the design that shows the parking lot and the improvements of the park?
Yes,
together?
ma'am, we do. It was,
And there's another one with the hotel.
this shows the city-owned parcel, and the shaded light blue area is the parking that we need. The green will be the park space. I think what is a little underrepresented here, the shaded red shows the parking areas, dedicated parking spots for the park. However, they would still need an ingress and egress to access that, so a portion of that is really still, and then the balance will be attributed to the second hotel so that we might surface park automobiles. For us, we could request a waiver. We don't want to because it comes down to guest satisfaction. As we've seen recently, there's so much rain here. If somebody's getting off a plane, they're late, they're looking for a parking spot, and it's raining, they're trying to check in a hotel, that's not something we want our guests to experience either. So that's why we're pursuing this, and it cleans up that area, because it's not a very nice thing to look at. Why not beautify it and activate it? That's where we're coming from. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How does it incorporate into the look of the hotel? Because the first thing that comes to my mind is, I love the idea. I'm just wondering if the community will know that it's their park and it doesn't belong to the hotel.
Yes, there'll be signage, City of Tampa signage, including signage for the parking, that those will be dedicated. Those pink spots that we've shown, those are dedicated City of Tampa park spots. Yeah. And then there's a walkway to activate it as well. And like was mentioned, this is on the urban greenway, so that'll be part of that node. I think there's another terminal spot over by Del Mabry coming from Gadsden Park.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Councilmember Carlson, then her time.
Brian, Truett mentioned briefly your involvement with Swan Pond, and as you may remember, that was 10, 15 years ago, I was on the board of Historic Hyde Park Neighborhood Association, which is one of 3 or 4 neighborhood associations that worked on that. But just could you just take 30 seconds to explain your credentials in regard to that park, what you did, what your family did, and the situation that was faced there?
Sure.
Just so they know, just so the public knows your relationship to parks.
So that was a sort of self-starter deal. It actually started with a rescue dog that I got named Buster, who's an Australian Shepherd. A lot of energy, needed to be walked, like a lot. And every time we left and lived sort of near the village, 99 out of 100 times it would stop at Swan. It just was so inhospitable. The pathway, the sidewalk was, I think, only 4 foot wide. At the underpass, it was just dirt. There really wasn't any sidewalk at all to speak of. not something we want to do. So every time we go in the same direction, so we just started thinking.
And in case anybody doesn't know, it was the drainage pond.
It's still a functioning stormwater body for the expressway.
Next to
so
Hyde Park Village.
A lot of conditions, a lot of limitations. So yeah, I appreciate when people say it's a beautification deal, but form follows the function, and it really was a way to increase pedestrian activity by making it safer and more attractive for people in the area. And it ended up looking really nice. We're working currently with the neighborhoods, with the city on the ball field expansion as well, over by the softball field. That's something we had talked about many years ago, so we're going to revive that as well. My family also, we did the park. Our main office is on the Bank of Tampa building on Bayshore and Swan, and we developed that park in the 80s, coincidentally with David Connor when he was a much younger guy. So that's really, so anyway, and I've got working on a project up in the high country in Colorado. We're going to dedicate a lot of park space and trails to interconnect the Pike National Forest with the town of Wilma. And I go on and on. I don't want to bore you, but our heart's certainly in the right place. This one just happens to be one of those deals where I'd love to see a park there, but also I'm a developer too, so I got to put that hat on too. So thank you for your consideration.
Councilmember Hurtak.
I actually have a question for Mr. Mulkey. Yeah, I think he's probably still on. Mr. Mulkey, is there a way that, because they're talking about trailheads in different places, and I'm sure we have a master plan map of this. If this were to go to second reading or second hearing, sorry, is there a way that you could provide a map that shows what the connectivity would be?
Morning, Tony Mulkey, Parks and Recreation again. Yes, we have a variety of properties that we could kind of spell out where those connections are and kind of the target of those future expansion to make that network happen. Yes, we could certainly provide that. And as everyone probably knows, South Tampa is in need of additional park space and this connectivity to provide those recreation options, and we feel it's a very critical piece of that.
Yeah, well, and that we keep hearing the word connectivity and connecting trailheads, so I'd love to see where those trails are gonna, again, even if they're not there now, what's the plan, what is available, and I think the public would probably like to see that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yeah, I thank you for the work there at Swan and all. That's my neighborhood, so I appreciate that. It is beautiful and good. I hope there's a dog park involved in what we're currently trying to use as a dog park over there. But back to this project. So back up on the map, your map of the parking lot and can you throw that back up there? There we go. Okay, so have you given any thought of creativity? Because it does seem kind of weird. We're stepping back from a very industrial space in the hotel, and it seems to be an awful lot of concrete, of more integrating that parking lot with the park so that it's more seamless instead of just a sea of concrete and a heat sink,
All these islands are we're going to go overboard on landscaping. This doesn't have the overlay, so all these little parking block, the islands, everything, we're going to load everything up with landscaping. That's our intent for the hotel's sake, for the park's sake. We don't really want it to look bare either.
So it's just not going to be your typical Hampton.
It's not.
Hampton.
No, I'm happy to share those images with you if you would like, but would you? Okay, great. It's attached to a whole bunch of other stuff. If I could.
And I may be in the minority, but it's funny when you look at the unimproved property. I'm a Floridian before Florida became this hot mess. I find it beautiful. Natural Florida is kind of beautiful. Even the scrubland it's like it all doesn't have to be perfectly manicured for me.
No, we like that too. Let it get kind of leggy and things that usually is in our template of materials, plant materials for that exact reason. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the
Central Florida.
We're actually gonna and then this is the rear of it. We've got more glass, more fenestration. It's in our backyard. We really want to do a nice job, and I think
and you're right. I mean, the hotel space, and especially in that area for the base, is important too. So we have to find that balance. So yeah, that's a nice looking building.
And speaking of balance, and I understand your point, we had a smaller parking lot originally, but, working with the parks, they felt like this would actually get quite a bit of use, and so that impetus for a little bit more parking came on that side, and so we were accommodating that, and because hopefully it'll get utilized a lot.
Nice, okay.
And the bigger park, the more parking you're gonna need, so it creates that sort of paradox where if you have a lot of parking, we'll have a little park. So we thought this was a nice, healthy balance.
No, it's good.
Thank you
I
for
like
your comments.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good to see you, Brian. As
Hey, good to
always,
see you.
we actually went to law school together, which is funny. So, class of what, 2003?
Yeah. Just the other day.
Yeah, I know, right? Been a while. But I wanted to compliment you because we've talked a number of times about your great work and your passion for green spaces and parks. And I know the prior park that you worked on with Councilman Harry Cohen. And, and again, we'll listen to the public on this, but, when I see this, I think this is something that fulfills a real big need. We've talked about this a lot on Tampa City Council, which is that South Tampa is very misunderstood. There's a big portion of the city that looks at South Tampa and goes, they have everything. Well, if you look at flooding, right? Take a look at the roads in South Tampa and then a lot of parks. So this is something that goes to a big need in South Tampa. And especially as you and Mr. Gardner have noted, it's something that's near the base. I know Gadsden Park is something that is used by a lot of our military families. And I know you as a patriotic person, I'm sure, are very aware of the benefit that this park could have. So just wanted to, just salute you for this and look forward to hearing more about it from the public and seeing where we go. But just wanted to thank you.
Thanks for the comment.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Does that conclude the presentation, Mr.
Yes, it
Gardner?
does.
Just one thing which Councilwoman Hurtak, you asked Mr. Mulkey on the trail. We found it, and so if you want, we can put that up.
And this was from a graphic provided by Carla Price back a few years ago, so there might have been some changes, but let's just pull it up.
Glad you know how to do this.
I'm trying. Okay, so there. So we've added this property's location with the red circle, and so you can see here. And I believe some of it might have changed. Some of the meandering might have changed a little bit. The locations, but you can see Gadsden Park there. And this is to zoom out of the document.
Yeah, just being able to look at the legend. If you could go in just a little bit more so we can, there, perfect. Okay, so.
So just to clear, you could probably read it just in case. So the purple fuchsia color is what's existing or I believe under control. The orange is the needed links. And you can tell where this side is, it gets challenging just because there's so many privately held parcels. And so to make that connection from east to west is critical on this kind of juncture point in the middle, which I think that was the opportunity that Brian initially saw of if he can be a part of that and help provide that, but by all means, let's do it. And then also be a place where if you had your bike, you can go, you can park, that can be your kind of your trailhead, if you will, to go either east or west.
Thank you, and that's kind of the visual I was looking for, so I really appreciate that.
Anything else? Thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to public comment. If there's anybody in the public that wishes to speak, please come on up and state your name. Ms. Pointer, do you have a speaker waiver form? I do. Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Please state your name.
Morning, Keela McCaskill. I'm a native. I was born down in that area. When my mom recently passed, we had to go to Midtown to find something that was suitable for the guests that came in town for her burial services. But all my life, we've traveled away from the area to house our guests when they come in town for various family events. So I totally support this hotel. We needed. Not only that, I'm never going to go against a project where, Gardner, Brewer, Hudson, mainly Tyler Hudson, because I believe he was a godsend angel for me, so I'm never going to go against that. I've shared my comments with Dan, so they have that already. But I'm reading on behalf of Carolyn Bennett today. She couldn't make it because she's having some window improvements or getting replacements at her home, so I'll read her statement. She says that I don't understand why they want the grassy field in the middle. I still want to do away with the parallel parking on the streets, and I want them to save the cluster of the oaks on the southwest corner of the parking lot. Looking at what they gave us yesterday, they can save that oak cluster by eliminating about 6 to 7 parking spaces. The guests can use the parking for the park if necessary. it's a public park, so we couldn't stop them if we wanted to. And I still would like the idea of permeable parking. And those are the, I'm reading from Carol Ann Bennett's statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Mr. Gardner is a godsend.
I think it was Hudson, not Gardner.
Hudson.
I'm talking about Mr. Hudson.
All right.
I aspire to be.
Well,
All right.
maybe Tyler will get there. I mean, maybe Drew will get there one day.
Mr. Shelby, she has a couple names.
This one.
One name is Robin Lockett.
She's
Thank
here.
you.
All right, please state your name. Go ahead. You have 4 minutes.
My name's Stephanie Pointer, and I'll be honest with you, I'm miffed with the city and their process for this. And you know what? You don't have to tell me unless you want to, whatever. Okay, so I get this in the mail without this address at the top.
Move it
Okay.
down so we can see it.
This address at the top, I wrote on there. Okay, so this document says lot 34, 35, 36, 37 Pinewood. What the hell is that? Oh, wait, I don't know. So I had to go and go to the tax assessor's office, tax assessor's website, and I had to look up Pinewood BF LLC and figure out what they own. This document also says if I want to see a copy of the proposed development agreement, I have to go to the clerk's office. Well, when I went to the clerk's office, guess what? They didn't have it. And I was told by the legal department, oh, we don't have to have it down there for 8 days. Sorry, not sorry. This is crap. I should not have to do all that. Tell me how many of you know how to do all those things to figure out where this property would be. Please raise your hand if you can do it. Okay, I got one hand. Thank you. Second of all, it's funny because I have this, but Mr. Funk brought this to when we had breakfast last week. This is all the money that he's going to spend on the project. He told us that it was like he paid like $8.50 a square foot for the property that he owns. He offered the same, and this is equivalent to that. That's kind of where the mesh is. That's what he told me. I could be lying. I have already sent you an email of the things that Carol Ann and I asked for. This is page 4 of the document. Now, I don't, you know, I have read some legal stuff in my life, but it says on this document, ownership and maintenance, it says the city shall be responsible for all other maintenance, repair, replacement, park improvements after the first year. But we heard today that for the next 20 years, the developer's in charge of it. I would rather the developer be in charge of it because right now, that field is knee deep. It's full of trash. It's not taken care of by the city. What's really funny to me is there's a solid waste facility across the street. I'd also like to add before I forget, I want this to be called Cheshire Park after Lisa Cheshire. Because if it hadn't been for her, I probably would have thrown this letter in the garbage. Because it said Markham Street, and that's where Lisa lives. She lives right across the street from Gadsden Park. And you know what? Then everyone in South Tampa, south of Gandy, will know that it's a public facility because Lisa Cheshire was the public in South Tampa. Now, when you ask about the trailhead, this is where the new hotel's gonna go. Maybe I should go back here. So this is a beautiful picture. You guys should have one of these. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't give you one. Okay, so this is the city, this is the lot that they're gonna build. These are the parking spaces for the city. Well, Carol Ann and I figured out that this is about 3,000 square feet of parking spaces. Why do we need it? There's a lot of parking there. And the city kept indicating, and I don't know, I wasn't in the meetings, but they kind of indicated that they didn't want a lot of people hanging out there because of the situation with the airplanes. So we've got this giant circle here. Now, this is there's 2 things that we asked for, 100%. We wanted some grand trees in here. We want some big trees in here. Because that's what the people want at Gadsden Park Walking Trail. We want this trail to be not concrete, but pavement, because pavement is easier on your back, it's easier to move on, it's better for you, and it's actually cheaper. We also asked for some permeable parking. But Carol Ann is asking for this part of the property right here, that cluster of trees, that's what she's asking for. There's a cluster right there.
Thank you very much.
We don't know the condition of it, but we would like to see that.
Thank you very much.
And we are pretty much, we're okay with this. We'd like to see some small changes, but nobody had time to go to the city about it because It was delivered to us way too damn late.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Miranda.
Therefore, when I see it out here, this is something like a miniature El Lopez Park without a lot of the amenities.
Yeah.
Something like that, where you can walk around, and I think it is asphalt. It's not concrete at El Lopez. I haven't walked in about another last 2 or 3 years. I don't remember well.
Yeah, it's
I'll
good.
leave it up to the experts.
It's asphalt there, so.
Can I
Yes.
ask True.
Yes.
True. Someone mentioned, I think Carolyn Bennett's note was about permeable surface in the parking lot. Any comments on that?
I'll let Brian address the design. I did want to address, while I'm up, just two issues that Stephanie raised. One on notice, the lack of an address. The reason why is this property has no address. We just double checked that. So the address that she put on hers is actually Mr. Funk's property, not the city's property. If you look deeper into what that notice said, it did say on Pinewood, south of Markham, so it gives general location, but just want to clarify, it does not have an address. And then secondly, on the maintenance question, let's see, I'll put that up. Basically what it is Mr. Funk does have the requirement of ongoing maintenance. What it is for the first year, he is warranting, since he's putting in the swinging benches and things like that from the city at his own expense. For the first year, it's basically a warranty that he would have on those. But then, as you can read from the sentence that is underlined, after the first year, developers shall be responsible for the routine lawn, turf work, and trash maintenance on the park track through the term of the parking agreement. So that's through that first 20 years, and then if the city and Pinewood or its successor agrees to an extension, that would continue on. So the maintenance will be provided by him. With that, Brian, on design, the permeable question that Mr. Carlson asked?
So with respect to Ms. Bennett's question, the answer is we're not going to be doing permeable asphalt. The reason is because the entire site is exfiltration, which most of you all are familiar. That's instead of a traditional stormwater body, a pond, we're going to pick all the water up. It'll go through a series of chambers below the asphalt. It will permeate and percolate on its own into the groundwater. So same result, different method. So it's not a hard no. We hear her. It's important to us. You know, as far as turning the whole thing into forest, I mean, that's where I'm not speaking as a developer. I'm speaking as somebody that's from here. I'm from here too. There's not a lot of places to play or throw a ball or do stuff with it. But I mean, if you peppered it with trees, it would make that area pretty unusable for kind of recreational purposes, really.
What about the cluster of trees?
So that one is a tougher one, and unfortunately, that's a pretty binary response. Those trees, right now, in order to balance that site, we've got to bring in about 3 feet of dirt, 3.5 feet maybe, in that area. So there's no way that those trees are going to be able to survive with the dirt placed on them. That being said, we're going to replace and then some all the trees site-wide, and like I shared with you a little bit earlier, even the rendering that I showed you for the Hampton is light on landscaping, if that means, and that's a pretty nice rendering, the one that I think you had commented on. So we don't like to tear out any trees. In fact, I have a project called Stone Lake Ranch in East Hillsborough County. That's almost 700-acre project. We only had to take out 9 trees, the whole project. And whenever there was a conflict with a road and a tree, typically the tree won. And we either incorporate it into a median or we move the road altogether. That enhances our value too. We love trees. However, unfortunately, this is one where it's too close to where the building that we're proposing will be. We're worried about organics, if it got into the foundation, if they passed away anyway, which when you do the tree wells, it never works. We've all seen it around Tampa. So that's unfortunate. Something we would not be able to accommodate. But like I said, we've added more trees than the ones in question, just simply from our conversation last Friday. We've already added 10 more trees, 8 of which are live oaks, in order to accommodate Ms. Bennett's request.
Is there a way, if this passes the first, I mean, I guess that we're not passing anything because it's just the first public hearing. Is there a way between this first public hearing and the second public hearing that you could do an evening meeting for the residents so that they understand what is coming? And I will leave that to you to organize with Ms. Pointer and Ms. Bennett. But I just really want to make sure.
We think it's something everybody will be happy about it. I I think there's just a lot of unsure, people just don't know what's going on. They didn't know the use of the land, and that's something that ultimately is probably my fault. I should have explained that up front, but here we are, and I'm happy to do that. So.
And additionally, I mean, I think that people will be, a lot of the concerns can be allayed once they know what's
Agreed.
going on. So I do appreciate your willingness to do that.
I'd be happy to do it, and I'll set it with them, up with them afterwards.
Good.
Yes, sir, Councilmember Carlson.
Just to add to that, thank you if you do that.
Sure.
I'd recommend you try to get Tony Mulkey or somebody from Parks to go with you, because one of the arguments is that it's not really a park now, but it's going to be turned into a park. And so I think that's a valuable thing. And then I would also be prepared to talk about stormwater. Obviously, that's a huge issue today. And probably
Yeah, it was an issue with the city. We responded to that. They said no retention, so we actually redesigned the exfiltration. So we had an inverted crown in the parking lot, and we pick it up in a pipe, and we take it back over to developer property, and we added more exfiltration. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So we do not take any action other than close the hearing? Do we just leave the hearing open because it says adopt the resolution at the second public hearing?
Becca Johns, Legal Department, just to wrap it up with the legal stuff. As Councilmember Hurtak pointed out, this is just the first public hearing. There's a second public hearing on the 19th. We will be substituting the plan that's attached to your development agreement with the plan that was presented to you today by the developer. You're not acting on the resolution today. That is being held until the second hearing. I also request that you announce at this hearing today the date and time of the second public hearing. And also just to make sure everybody understands, the license agreement that Ms. Bealey talked about will be coming to you as a separate item on the 19th.
All right, do we have to just close the public hearing or just
Close the
announce?
public
All right,
hearing.
motion closed?
Thank you.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the clerk will announce the second public hearing.
Second public hearing will be held on September 19th, 2024 at 10:30 a.m. in City Council Chambers, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
I don't know. 10:30 a.m.
That's what it's been.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Thank you very much. I don't understand. Thank you very much. We have a lot of department heads here. I see a couple of folks. Councilmember Hurtak, you pulled quite a few items.
Yes,
Do you want to bring
but
these up now, or do you want to wait till after?
Can we do administrative update first? I believe Mr. Bhide is here to
Yeah.
talk about stormwater.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Because we're going to break at 12 o'clock. Yes, sir, Mr. Bhide. How are you today?
Morning, Chair. Morning, Council. Vik Bhide, Director Mobility. It's been a long night, but I think the whole city knows and experienced that we had significant storms yesterday. Just unpredictable but really severe rain events. That has been the feature of this year. If you recall, earlier this year, we started off until through June, I believe, we were in a drought condition with water restrictions through July even. And now, of course, there's no lack of rain. So we felt like in today's administration update, we should provide a background on this. I did reach out to Councilman Carlson. Thank you for the discussion this morning. Given that a majority of these impacts are in District 4. Having said that, there are impacts elsewhere as well. But I just wanted to share with Council and the community what we experienced yesterday, how we respond to these situations typically, what our systems are capable of, more importantly, what they're not capable of, how our activities are funded, and what we're looking at going forward in the future. So I'll just start by kind of showing what rainfall we experienced yesterday. It was quite significant. These are measured with our rain gauges, either on our wastewater or stormwater pump stations. We are working on adding additional rain gauges, modernizing them so that they can push the data onto our website directly and other sensors as well. But as you can see, these are daily totals. And in several places, in a very short amount of time, within an hour, we have more than 2, in some cases almost 3 inches of rain in 1 hour. Quite simply, our stormwater system, meaning our system of ponds, outfalls, pipes, ditches, and even our roadways that convey the stormwater, are not prepared to instantaneously drain this amount of water in this short of a time. It does take 2 to 3 hours for this water to drain, and that is typical of these systems. That's how they were designed. Now, there are some areas within the city where we have upgraded with the improvement assessment. I'll touch on that, and they perform a little bit better. But when we experience these sort of events, I think the biggest message to the community is having a little bit of patience, preparing for alternatives, not driving through those flooded areas, and just recognizing that for the most part, within 2.5 hours, the water will drain in most areas. Some areas are worse than the others. A lot of them are in District 4, but I'll just provide some examples of some of the challenges. But before I do that, please note that the yearly totals as measured by these rain gauges are quite significant in this small sampling. We've got additional rain gauges as well. Florida, or particularly Tampa Bay's annual rainfall average mean is about 52 to 54 inches. And you can see that we're still early September, and most of these are above that mark already. And compare that to last year's total for the same time period, from January to September, and you will see that we have already, in spite of until July being in a drought, exceeded those amounts by significant percentages between last year and this year. Now, last year was also a drought condition, so that's not entirely surprising. This is a smaller subset of data. But this is really to demonstrate that we've had much, much higher rain in a very short amount of time, and that will do things like this to our systems. This is at 7th Avenue in historic Ybor City. This was the condition, I believe, around 6 p.m., if I'm not mistaken, and it drained in just over an hour. So this is what happens. Then here are some of the challenges that we also see when our crews respond. This is near Himes and Morrison, and what our team does is goes out to the inlets, and they have Vactor trucks that actually vacuum things out in case there's debris and things like that. And that there is an engine cover. A whole engine cover made it through the inlet and blocked the entire inlet. And that's not the only thing that always blocks the inlet. Our work zones, and that is a best practice, require that we use filtration or filter material or socks to block the inlets. And as long as it's an active work zone, that is a requirement and a best practice to maintain water quality. So these are some of the challenges with construction in the summer, but also the opportunity is we have lesser traffic in the summer, and hence you see a little more construction. Now moving to how we respond when we have similar situations. So all of our response and all of our maintenance, so proactive maintenance, be it mowing, be it hydroseeding, be it cleaning out and dredging ponds, are paid for by the stormwater service assessment. That's one of the 2 assessments that most people fortunate enough to pay property taxes pay on their property tax bill. And that includes our response teams. So last night, our lead was Richie Grays. He is very experienced, 33 years with the city. He knows what he's doing. And when I reached out to him, he said, Vic, I haven't seen this kind of an impact citywide in many, many years. So that is just anecdotal, but this is one of our most experienced folks. We had 9 full-time employees responding yesterday with various equipments that include vacuum trucks, that include flatbeds to pick up debris and haul debris, pickup trucks that are inspecting but also responding to smaller calls. This shift was from 3:30 p.m. to midnight. Typically, this work is emergency response work because we don't have a third shift. And I mention that because the team is already working on an extra shift. We will activate this shift. It takes a couple of weeks to find first volunteers, and otherwise they're voluntold. That depends on their seniority roster and all of that. But that will be activated September 23rd of this year. And going forward through summer months, we will have this third shift. Whether we have it permanently or not is a function of how we can distribute the workload that we have, whether it'll be annual or not. And one of the major considerations there is some of the heavy equipment. It's a best practice not to operate it at night unless you have industrial lighting and things like that. So that is what we're working on going forward. But again, for tonight and other events, we will still have that third shift. It'll just be emergency rosters. Last night, our stormwater team created 32 work orders. There are various ways in which these work orders come in. Some come in through our call center. I will share that number. Others come in through direct reports. And then we also get TPD, and then we know hotspots, and so we've got folks driving around. Typical work, and I'm sorry that this is kind of fine print, but typical work is either stormwater gravity main maintenance. These are gravity pipes, and that's where you either suck things out of them or clean them out. Curb and gutter repairs, and these are emergency curb and gutter. These aren't like across the board, and a lot of inlet maintenance. So inlet maintenance primarily because that's how the water gets in from the roadways into the system. That's usually where we find blockages. There are areas where we know that kind of rain is just going to keep water for a little bit. So unless there is an emergency, we prioritize based on efficacy and threat profile. Other ways that we get information about our systems. Our SCADA system, which is shared with wastewater, gives us status on our pumps, pump stations and stormwater pumps and things like that. Flow rates, what kind of flows are going. In certain cases, we have cameras, so we're monitoring ditches to see how fast the ditch goes up. If the ditch is full, that means the system's inundated already. So if there's flooding out there, I mean, there's really not much we can do in that moment. But again, this is for the community's understanding. And then also to understand how our equipment is working and how our backup generators are working. Because oftentimes through storms, we may lose power, and we want to make sure those pump stations are still working precisely when we need them. Much of these means and methods are audited on a regular basis as part of our MS4 permit. That is a municipally separated storm sewer system. We just went through that process with DEP recently. In fact, I think earlier late last month, rather. So, and then the city, of course, isn't the only area that experienced this kind of impact. This was, I mean, St. Pete was pretty much at a standstill. The airport reported significant rains and all of that also. The best number to call when these sort of events happen, and I say that because we do get a lot of emails, a lot of our team members do, and sometimes at 10 p.m., 9 p.m., and we all have heavy workloads, and so we do have measures in place, and the best number to call is 813-274-3101. 813-274-3101. This is a call center service, but it is flexible, meaning we can increase capacity as needed, and it works well. That call center service overnight is also dispatching work to our team, and usually, and this is like 8 pages, typically I get a daily report which is about 1 page. So we got 50 calls last night through this, and again, I'm sorry about the font size here, but we have everything from, and we categorize them from routine versus emergency, and that's how we prioritize. So it goes to our stormwater lead, and the complaint is a resident called in again, and they cannot get into their home because of flooding. I'm sorry, I'll block out the address there and number. But these are the kind of calls we get on this service. That is the number to call, and we will respond. We're working through most of these work orders right now. Real quick look into capital versus operating. I already mentioned operating is paid for by our service assessment. Our ongoing major stormwater projects and the program is paid for by the improvement assessment. This is the other part of the bill in our property tax bill itself. And that includes things like Lower Peninsula, Cypress, and all of the projects that show up in your quarterly report, as does how we're doing with maintenance, because that tells you how much debris and all of that. So on a quarterly basis, you have very detailed and up-to-date information on that. But I do want to look into the future. Council approved the initiation of a watershed management plan that we've already selected consultants for or are in the works of rolling out. What this will do is, with the latest available sea level rise data and other data, it will model or update models for where we already have models, every single basin within the city of Tampa. And it will inform the next iteration of projects, both in terms of capacity as well as location and priority. And there's value engineering as well. What gives you the biggest bang for your buck in engineering terms. And I mention this because our final bond issuance for the current stormwater improvement projects was issued, I believe, last year. So there is no more bond issuance. And that program, which started off as being a $250 million program, and I know Councilman Miranda, you were very involved in those discussions with Gene and Brad at the time, became a $400 million program, partly because the assessment itself did increase a little bit, but we were also, the team was able to bring in significant amount of grants to the tune of $110 million. But that's wrapping up. Our major projects will be done in the next three years. By then, we will have a watershed management plan. Our hope is that we will have a better CRS, a community rating system, rating itself, to where most property owners in Tampa will see lower flood insurance rates because of that. But it will also have a consideration of what we do with our assessment. Do we increase it? Do we extend it? Do we modify it? Because there have been concerns about maybe the assessment structure itself, but that does need to be looked into. And that is primarily because what we're hearing from NOAA and other sources, which is historical modeling techniques look back 100 years and drew or extended those lines into the future to see what's going to happen in the future. But at the rate things are shifting in the last 5 years, that way of modeling data is not working. There are newer means that I know nothing about, but what we're hearing is that is going to update future scenarios, and that is going to mean more dollars needed, both for green infrastructure and concrete-based systems. Our community will have to grapple with that. And then the other reality is, in the meantime, the systems that we have in place that are not sufficient are not going to get improved anytime soon. That's where community's patience is needed. That is where we need to all work as a community, because it's going to be many years before these systems, you see how long these projects take to build, and we're right now in the planning stages so that we can organize financing for the next iteration of all of our systems. And then just a quick plug, much of the things when we respond, our crews respond after these storms, is yard waste in our stormwater system. Some of that yard waste is from the wind and the rain. Much of that yard waste is either from yards that are discarded by landscaping folks or homeowners themselves. We must pay attention to this. Our team is putting out, I think, some media effort to create more awareness on this issue. And then lastly, I will just say that our improvement program that we're in the process of wrapping up right now, as I mentioned, is about $400 million. Our pipes program is $3 to $4 billion. I just want to manage the community and council's expectation around the scale of the cost we're looking at in the future if we truly want to address our stormwater challenges. So I'll leave it at that unless there are questions.
Thank you very much. That was a thorough and logical report, and I appreciate it very much. And I'm not yelling at anybody, but I want to air my frustrations. This is how I feel and what I've seen in the last 48 hours. This is almost as bad as what we saw in 2016. Because 2016, before the stormwater improvements, remember a car on fire, Kennedy Boulevard, Henderson and Dale Mabry. We didn't see that to that level in these last 2 days. I came downtown right around 4:30 yesterday, and I went into Tampa Heights. I left Tampa Heights at 7 because the storm was coming in. I just couldn't go anywhere. And I live in West Tampa over by Raymond James Stadium, St. Joseph's Hospital. I couldn't manage to, and I know the city, not blindfolded, but I can get around, and I know the shortcuts. I couldn't get up Columbus Drive to Howard Avenue. It was backed up, and I thought there must be an accident, there must be a fire, I don't know what. So I said, let me cut through the West Tampa neighborhoods. I went through a variety of residential streets between Armenia and McDill. And I'm in my dad's Hyundai. I'm driving my dad's car today, which is a low car. I thought I was going to flood out. I go, my father, he comes home tomorrow night. I go, I got to tell him that I destroyed his car because of the floodwaters. Luckily, I didn't. But the streets, and many of those residential streets are narrow. The ditches are full. There's a problem that I notice that a lot of people have closed those ditches illegally without permission that has exacerbated these problems. I finally managed to get home by Columbus to get to, because I thought, let me take Himes. I got pictures here. Cars flooded out on Himes and Columbus. I've never seen that. I get to Dale Mabry, backed up to beyond Hillsborough. I finally got to MLK. I got to Havana, and I got home. I already called my wife. I said, I'm going to pull over in the Ashley Furniture parking lot because I don't know where to go. Luckily, I got home. I don't know how many cars, because I didn't count them all, were flooded out with the hood up. And I go, what do I do? Who do I call? Who can I yell at? And I don't want to yell at anybody. I called the chief of staff, and he very calmly, we didn't yell. He goes, yeah, no, I know. You know how he's very calm, and he goes, we can't even get through to TPD. We can't. I mean, it was overwhelming. I've been up since 2:30. I got up, and I've been up since 4 o'clock, but I was up till 2:30 last night, essentially getting yelled at because people do come to us as a council with their frustrations. Tag the city council. Who's your council member? Tag the mayor. Tag the media. The media knows about this because it wasn't just flooding here. It's all over the place. Right. Hanley Road in Hillsborough, unbelievable. St. Pete, I've been talking to people and they're like, it's awful here. You had high tide, you had the river. People that lived on the river said, I've never seen this. Going back to, some of the streets that I saw, I get a lot of complaints from specifically Palmetto, right in McFarland Park.
Yes.
And there's an empty lot there. I don't know if it was a stormwater pond, but it was filled in years ago. I don't know what the history is. I've heard somebody drowned there, and that's why they filled it in. Every time it rains, not even like this, the flooding is terrible. That has to be addressed. People call this a part-time job. I think to be on call all the time, 8 a.m. Monday morning. I know it's a holiday weekend, and I know that, it's Saturday, but and I'm having coffee on the other side of town. I drop everything to go over because the street is flooded, because someone is building an illegal driveway that is adding to the ditch enclosures and everything, the frustration of people. Sunday morning, the same thing. Hey, I have debris everywhere. I know it's a holiday weekend, and I go, I don't know who to go. So I show up, and I try to handle these things. That's just one example. Palmetto Street is one that I hear about every single day. Every single day. I think 10 minutes ago, notification. I can't believe the city of Tampa allows this. And I know there's a work order in there, but what I saw yesterday is awful. I talked to somebody early this morning around 6:30. He goes, well, Tokyo's doing stuff, Miami's doing stuff, you know, raise the height of the streets. And I go, this is Florida, this is a peninsula. You know, we weren't meant to develop these areas like it is. My wife is from West Virginia, from the hills. She says, we deal with snow. We have water here. We're surrounded by water. We have high tide. We have rains, and I saw that in the last 48 hours, a record from 1985 was broken from, I believe, 6 to 7 p.m., the amount of rainfall that has fallen. We've made significant stormwater improvements, because we talk about that assessment in 2016. I got to enjoy being berated on that because I supported it. I remember when the mayor went on TV and said, call your city council, and he read off my number, not the city council general line, to support this. I've seen differences in the system, but what we've seen, or improvements in the system, is it was overwhelmed. And from talking to hydrologists, scientists, and engineers, they say no system that we know of can handle when you have a massive amount of water. But at the same time, you have stated very specifically, we are making these investments, and please have patience. Some people have run out of patience, especially some of the places that I've mentioned. You know, they want relief, they want help. But in this situation, you know, I felt helpless, because it's like, what can we do? Yeah. You know, when every manageable, passable road was underwater, because you think it's just South Tampa. It was all of West Tampa. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So it was just an airing of grievances and frustrations on my part. Councilmember Clendenin, Carlson, and Miranda, in that order, had the microphones on. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of what has been said is what it needed to be said, and I think everybody here, including city staff, is well aware that of what our problems are, and also well aware that we don't have a solution to 5 inches of rain. You know, and an area that's living, you know, just inches above sea level, it's almost a possibility. And we had high tide around the same time, which for District 4 specifically is very problematic for us of water flow. And I live right there in the heart of this, and watching the river flow down the stream and watching Bayshore fill up, and it was a problem. You know, we can't as council just brush this off, because while you can't build enough culverts, you can't build enough of stormwater infrastructure to deal with what we saw yesterday, but what you can do is smart development. And it's for decades we have done things specifically in some of these urban areas where we have divided lots, we've put too much on too little, and the same thing that I've been preaching since I've been here, and I've seen this council do it. Divide lots and approve these things where we are putting too much on too little, and you know, Mother Nature kicks back. And yesterday, Mother Nature kicked back. There wasn't enough area for percolation into the ground, and you pave over these places, and this is what's going to happen. You know, but we can still develop. There's lots of areas in the city of Tampa that we can develop, and we can develop along transportation corridors. And you know what? We can develop transporting stormwater off of very specific corridors, and just getting that water from where it is to where it needs to be. But you can't do it in every neighborhood, in every city across the entire area. So we have to be smarter as we develop the city of Tampa, because guess what? That bay is not getting any lower. It is getting higher by the moment. And as Vik appropriately said, in the last 5 years, we're exceeding predictions that weren't supposed to happen for 20, 30, 40, or 50 years from now. So we're experiencing sea level rise. We're experiencing water table rise. You're right, Mr. Chairman. You know, the Hillsborough River was coming out. All of our natural lakes and ponds breached their banks. You know, these are acts that are well beyond the capabilities of not just the city of Tampa, but just man in general. So, but we have to do a better job in council as we develop the city, and where we put our infrastructure, where we put our density, and how we are able to handle what is surely coming. And we live in paradise. We live with beautiful water, but that water is something that is we're not going to hold it back. So we've got to be better about it.
Councilman, could I comment on one thing you said, because you're spot on, because there are strong headwinds, but it's not all gloom and doom. We could focus, and we need to focus density in light of housing challenges in areas that are more conducive and further away from our coastal high hazard areas. But that's where council really comes in, because it's this body that has that responsibility.
Councilmember Carlson Miranda.
Yeah, and I would say this council and the last council I've been on 5 years or so, we've listened very closely to the community, especially the South Tampa community, about overdevelopment. Before I got on council, there were tens of thousands of units that were approved just south of Gandy, and it overwhelmed the infrastructure already. Our infrastructure was overtaxed, and most of those have been built in just the last few years. But we've, following the law, the council in the last 5 years has tried to be really careful. There are certain legal restrictions into what we can do, but we're pushing to pay attention to the coastal high hazard area, pushing to develop in areas that are above ground, pushing for better planning, not only south of Gandy, but throughout the city, and to incentivize development areas where people can evacuate and where there's not this risk of flooding. I want to say thank you, Mr. Bhide, for your proactive stance toward getting this information out, for doing this today. It's not easy to be on the front line, and we're getting calls and complaints. You and your staff are getting those every day, and I want to thank you all for being out there. We all wish there was more, but I know that you're answering our calls and our emails, and you're answering constituent calls, and thank you for that. Also, you mentioned a telephone number. Not everybody wants to use a telephone number these days. Is there a website or an email address that they can go to?
So we have a flood map as well that people can report on, but unfortunately, the most emergent times are when people are stuck, as Chair Maniscalco said. And calling in is the best way, but we're constantly working. So for example, our communications team is working, kind of scouring social media, and if there's people reporting through social media, that will come to us.
So what I recommend, before I run out of time, because we could have a long conversation with it, I recommend that we put together a communication package that's similar to dealing with hurricanes. We have a whole package and a timeline when a hurricane's coming. There's warnings, sandbags, prepare, buy your. When we see that, we don't always know, but when we see big storms are coming in, some of the little waves that are hitting us are harder than a hurricane hits us. And so as we see that coming in, we ought to hit with a package. I think it should include text messaging. We're not going to be able to stop all the street flooding in the next 10 years. And one way to prevent people from having their cars flooded, and I had that happen a few years ago in another city, and it's horrible to go, it ruined my entire car. But to stop that, we should text people and put out alerts, email and social media, proactively say, don't drive for the next couple hours. Please help us to be patient. We're working on the solution, but in the meantime, we've been inundated. Let the same word you get out there, but let's push it to the community, and it needs to have a feedback mechanism. And there should be an email address included in there, maybe a special Twitter account, just like we have for Alert Tampa, and all the other things, so that people can easily communicate. Your list might have been 20 pages had we had that. The other thing is, in terms of drainage, about 4 or 5 years ago, we strengthened the rules around using leaf blowers, and I think, doubled the fines. I wish we could double them again, because I see people blowing leaves in the streets all the time. And it's not just that we don't like the noise or we don't like the clutter. It's filling up the drains, and I think more and more people know that. And it costs, I think you spent 1 year, $2.5 million just cleaning drains. And it's not fair that we're subsidizing people to blow their stuff into the street. Now, at the same time, the community has said that the city's landscaping people are doing that. And so whoever's in charge of that, please take note and make sure the city's people aren't doing it. I've seen them out with leaf blowers on Bayshore, and I'm not quite sure if they go behind and clean up, but I've seen them put stuff on the streets. The other thing is that it's not just development, it's the design of new homes. As people raise up a home, it floods the one next to them. And I know there's certain restrictions in providing on-site flood relief, but maybe we ought to look at that again to make sure that we're not inadvertently creating more problems, because people have nice houses and suddenly somebody builds across the street, they're a couple feet higher and water drains The other thing is that I saw a realtor posted that now there's a new disclosure that you not only have to check a box about flooding, but you have to go into detail to describe that. If that's true, this could start to affect home values, and even more reason why we need to be on top of it. And so if you, the real estate team, anybody in the community has an idea on policies that we could put in place, please let us know, because I think we all want to solve this. Thank you.
Sure. If I could just address a couple of those things. So yes, we are looking at all options within the law. The challenge with fines and the challenge with enforcement is we can have those fines, but it's very costly to catch people doing it when it happens. It's really, really hard to do that. We try and supplement that with education and encouragement, kind of similar to Vision Zero, and we'll continue to do it. But there is a very strong aspect to civic responsibility when it comes to resilience also. And we will do our part if any of our landscapers, irrespective of the department, are creating challenges as well. But this is all hands kind of a challenge.
Can we put that into potentially a water bill about not blowing your yard debris into the street for education purposes or something for wide distribution?
We'll do that. We also do a lot of PSA type of things, but we'll step that up. In fact, we should have that right today itself, right now. So,
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Vic, thank you very much for that number, 813-274-3101.
Yes,
and there's a lot of things that are coming to my mind. First of all, nature is sending us a message, and it's not going to get any better. We have been abusing nature for many, many years on all aspects of it. And going back to the individuals who are cleaning the yard and blowing it into the storm drainage system, it's been going on. Past councils have tried to do something about it. We asked the city employees to call those who are out in the street. There's a lot of them that drive police cars, allow them to drive sanitation trucks, there's allow them to drive code enforcement vehicles. I don't know if that's worked or not, but I don't believe it has. Secondly, it's incumbent upon all of us to do something, and I can say this. Last night, Mary couldn't get her car, my aide, out, so I took her home because it was flooded in downtown also. And I took Cypress north, I took Cass to North Boulevard, made a right on North Boulevard. When I got to the corner of Cypress and North Boulevard, there was already 4 cars floating. And thank God that I was driving the old Ford hybrid that's got a bottom to it, it's kind of closed, and the water wasn't getting in, I guess, because I went right through it. When I got again to the middle of Cypress, between North Boulevard and Dale Mabry, there was at least 6 or 7 other cars. And when I got to the corner of Dale Mabry and Cypress, there was 4 cars that were flooding. They were just floating, not flooding, floating. And what is it? Well, it's nature, number one. Number two is, not only did you have rain for 1 day, you had rain for 3 days that were exceptional. The ground was already saturated, that's number 2. And number 3, the incoming tide comes in, the water cannot go out to any, I don't care if your system is 1,000% perfect, the water volume will not meet the expectation of the water volume coming in. By weight, it'll come right back where it started. We had a lot of things going against us. I'm not giving excuses. So I think we have to be vigilant and ask our employees, that's the only way you're going to get these things done. Yeah. If you see somebody they're supposed to not even blow it to the street, they're supposed to pick it up as a time when they cut it, and it's not being done. So I don't know what else to tell you, but West Tampa, yesterday, about, 2:30 or something, when I was driving around, I saw a couple of individuals cleaning the ditches with weed eaters. Ditches are not cleaned with weed eaters. It only lowers the grass from 5 inches to 2 inches. You have to have every system cleaned out with a scraper that makes the bottom useless so the water can drain. And those are things that are not being done. I don't know who's got that contract. I saw it, and I'm not against them, but they have to, if they're going to weed eat a ditch, clean it out. Don't weed eat it, because it's not going to do anything in the summer. In the winter, you can get by with that, but not in the summer. So these are the things we have to do. But thank you and what you're doing, and sooner or later it'll get better. But if we don't control nature, if we don't do things now, for tomorrow's only get twice as worse. Thank you very much.
This afternoon's gonna get worse, because
Yes, sir, it is.
coming is bad.
Robles Park got 5 inches in 2 hours,
Yeah.
3.73 inches in 1 hour. And a lot of these cells are not predictable, meaning you can see the cell coming in, but the intensity does shift as it comes in.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, at least I don't know how we can predict how much rain will come in within an hour, 2 hours, but we can only hope that technology evolves.
Let me say what I said today, what I saw today on TV is that, thank you very much. What I saw today on TV, even if it doesn't rain one more drop from now to December 31st, you'll still be above the water rainfall that fell for the whole year. So how many days is that?
And we started with a drought.
And we started with a drought. So what I'm saying is, if that's the case, and I'm sure it is, we're in trouble.
Councilman Herbeck.
Thank you.
Councilmember Herbeck.
I mean, absolutely. One of the things that's a problem is the water table. We had a leaky pipe, which I found thanks to my water bill. And so my husband actually dug it out yesterday, because we know exactly where it is, and fixed it. And he said he could barely fix the pipe because the water was already high. I mean, and that was before the rain. So what we're not even thinking about is how the water table, we have so much rain already, that when it comes to what you said about us not knowing when the cells are bad, and that is 100% true. I mean, no one can know. But when we have this kind of rain, we should be able to put out a predictor this afternoon for today, because the water table is so high, because we know a storm is coming. So I think that more along those lines of when we already know that we are at capacity with water, to put out a memorandum and maybe, again, just kind of encourage people to get home earlier or be able to stay in place. Similar to a hurricane, we're just going to have to roll with the times, because as Mr. Miranda said, we can't control Mother Nature. There's nothing we can do about the water rise. It's just managing the water that we're getting. In terms of education for people who blow leaves and grass clippings, I think I've said this before, but absolutely reaching out to yard companies, people who do this for a living, and start there. Have that be part of the education process. In addition to educating homeowners, I don't think I've seen anything in my water bill recently about that. But normally, I mean, I get mine online, but still, that should be something that pops up. That should be a pop-up before I can go pay the bill of, hey, make sure you're not doing that. Or if people get their bill in the mail, to simply have a leaflet. I know you do that from time to time. But as far as what council can do, one of the major issues, and Councilman Miranda has been talking about this for years, is, and it's something that we're working on with trees and mitigation trees, and how to educate the homeowner that the mitigation tree, if you take out a mitigation tree, you can get a $15,000 fine, because that is part of our water strategy, is swales. And the adding of swales to properties that are being redone. And we need to be on the forefront of strengthening policies for making sure that new homeowners understand, or any homeowner who buys a new property, that if there's a swale there, that you cannot fill it in. I don't know if there's fines that we can attach to it, but it is 100%, that is something that we as council can work on.
And I...
Oh, yeah.
And I agree with you. The problem is we put it in and it's never recorded. So when the house is sold, you never know.
Exactly. But that's the thing that we're working on with tree mitigation right now, about GIS mapping. And I'm hoping that if we can get it to work for trees, that's something that we can work on for swales, being able to highlight, notice, notify, make sure that people, not only who are buying new properties, but who are buying older properties, know that they exist.
The challenge with that, I'll just share, I mean, I don't have an answer, but kind of goes back to enforcement. We're talking about a broad set of actions that are going to be needed on every property, irrespective of use, and someone needs to inspect it to make sure it is in place. And that cost is very, very high. And automation or automated enforcement isn't always allowed, given rules and regulations, both state and local in certain cases. So that is an area where we're going to have to firm up, and that has a both private and public component.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Bhide, as always, for your, as was noted, your very comprehensive presentation. First off, Councilman, or Mr. Chairman, did I hear it right? Did former Mayor Buckhorn put your number out? Your office number?
Yeah, I have the
That's
tweet. He goes,
hilarious.
if you're tired of this flooding, call your council member. And it was just my number.
I fully support this message.
Yeah. No, but I will say that was a 4-3 vote, and I was a swing vote on that. And I worked to get CIT money.
Yeah.
About $20 million to go towards this project to be less impactful on the taxpayers. So I take 100% responsibility, even though I shouldn't take any credit for it because it was everybody, but about wanting to do something about flooding. But the thing is, Mr. Bhide, you know, the system gets overwhelmed. You know, like what we've seen and what we might see this afternoon again. I mean, I again, from Palmetto Street. Palmetto Street it's a lake. I mean, we can canoe out there. That's how bad it is. We can go right now and canoe. It may have receded some, but now you're looking at property damage, automobile damage. I mean, we're going to get sued. We're going to get claims. We're going to get all sorts of stuff. But so we just have to do better. And I think maintenance is one of the things. And going after the people, and I know this is coming up in future meetings, you know, going after the people that are closing these ditches and doing things without permits, because we're making the efforts and they're throwing, you know, stuff in our way that are hurting our efforts. Councilman Vieira.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, and I was going to say, you know, I think we all agree on this, which is just tell us how we can help. That includes in the budget, anything. I mean, I know the vote that Chairman Maniscalco was talking about, that was a very difficult vote. I wasn't on council yet. A lot of pressure. You were elected, like, how long before that?
A year before.
Okay, yeah, so relatively new. That's a lot of pressure on you, obviously. But anything that we can do, I mean, this is the stuff that is local government 101. And, you know, and it's not just South Tampa. There's obviously other parts of the city. We talked about Chairman Maniscalco talked about that, parts of North Tampa as well. Anything that we can do, and you know, I'm glad we're also talking about the development issue and the effect that has. It's kind of like the mayor did the Parks Master Plan. The idea that as the city grows, take a look at the number of parks. The Public Safety Master Plan, as a city grows, as a community grows, we have to invest in meeting the needs of that growing community. And the same goes with this issue, which is as we grow up as a city, if we don't put in the budget allowances to meet that growth on all parts, that's been the message since day one, then we're not doing our job. So I would say, and that's all of us, by the way, myself included. So again, anything that we can do in the budget, sir, for this, please let us know. Anything at all, any efforts, I think we'd all be very supportive because this is local government 101.
Thank you for asking. I will make 2 suggestions right now since you asked. So the first one is we're working on the watershed management plan that will come with an updated stormwater technical manual and some proposed rule changes. Please support those. And the other is much more controversial, but it addresses housing as well. And it's the Z word, zoning. We need to look at zoning in the areas which are most conducive for development, for housing, even from a stormwater perspective. And we're fortunate that some of those are where we anticipate the biggest job growth, between the airport and downtown and Ybor. Those are the areas that are conducive for this, and we will be able to move the water a little bit better from those areas, a little bit harder as you get closer to the coast. But I know that's controversial, but it does address a lot of major needs over the next 30, 50 years for us.
Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. I want to ask you a question about the leaf situation. When our citizens are blowing them in the drain, that requires us to remove them to unclog them.
Well, if they make it into the drains, yes, we have to. Nobody else maintains those
systems. Is this a new
systems.
problem?
It's a very old problem.
Okay.
It's exacerbated by recent conditions.
Okay, do you think part of it too is the fact that we're no longer allowed to bag leaves in plastic bags for the city to pick them up? You know, you think that could be a contributing factor?
I don't know if that's as much of a contributing factor as much as these are things that are very, very hard to enforce. Like you have to be at the right place at the right time to capture that. I'm not aware of remote or automation tools like we can with parking, for example, parking, in a bike lane and all of that, that are available for those sort of broad enforcement.
Yes. And just on a short personal note, I flooded 2 sports cars in Tampa, one on West Shore and one at Orient Road Jail, so I try not to drive in the rain anymore. It's very painful to be a part of the
You're
Tampa.
in jail again?
No, I worked at Orient Road Jail. Stop telling jokes. You know that doesn't go well for you up here.
She's right. She's right.
Can I ask a quick question? Just, Vik, just a quick question. You at the beginning you were talking about the stormwater fee, and you talked about the end of the bonding, but you didn't say when it does that. Again, the stormwater fee was approved before my time.
Correct.
Does it sunset at some point, and when is that?
It's a third-year assessment for the improvement, so I don't know the exact date, but I would think 2016, so around 2046 or 2045 sometime.
Oh, so
then.
it's far out in the future.
Correct.
Okay.
But before that time, we will know what else we need to do, and then we should try and do something about it then. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because even with the service assessment relative to our needs has already fallen short. And that will also have to be taken a look at.
Just quickly, the controversy and the bashing that Guido got, it was around the city's formula for how it's calculated. And so if at some point we're updating it or looking at bonding, we might want to go back out to the community and talk to them about the formula, because there were a lot of people that thought that the way it was calculated was not equitable. And I don't want to get in that long conversation, but it took a lot of bravery on Guido's part to vote for it, considering how many people were against it. And if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have been able to get these things done. But going forward, maybe we could look at it.
Absolutely. And Chair, that was very timely. Thank you for that support, because we're better off today because of it.
And my reward, I get yelled at even more.
But enough about your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to, it sounds like we're wrapping up. I just want to say that for items 28, 33, 34, and 55, after we get back, I just need Mr. O'Hara.
Okay. So we have a 1:30 hearing, item 63. We're going to take that and we're going to go right to those staff reports. Is that, or those items? All right.
Thank you.
Do you need the other department head? No? If you like hanging out with us, you're always welcome to stay. All right, we're going to recess for lunch until 1:45.